All right, welcome everyone to Ballycastle in Northern Ireland and the spectacular Causeway Coast, stop number 4 of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Ramping up to ready to watch round number 3. Trace Worthington alongside Joey Zuber. We're stoked to have you guys with us. Big apologies yesterday. Technical difficulties didn't allow us to broadcast this round 3, Joey, but it was a spectacular competition, and we're going to take a look back at it right now. How about this location?
It is very stunning scenery, beautiful coastline, and we're set for a great competition in Ballycastle today.
So let's talk about this platform right here, the Ballycastle platform. We're getting back to the regular heights. Now, the last couple days been interesting off of the cliff. In 2 different places, Dunluce and then off to the Kinbane Castle dive spot. Very challenging location for all the divers. Now we're moving over to Ballycastle in this great seaport town, Joey. So we're back to this 21-meter platform for the women and 27 meters for the men. It's going to be fun.
It will be fun indeed, and those off-the-cliff rounds, definitely my favorite rounds to watch, and that's where it gets raw and rugged. You're up against the elements, but now we're back to the platform.
Yeah, and if you're new to cliff diving, here's how it all works and the new competition format for 2024.
Each Red Bull cliff diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
And in the 15 years of the World Series, only 2 women and 5 men have earned that prestigious King Kahikili Trophy as we get set for round number 3 of 4. All 4 rounds count. Again, our apologies for not having this broadcast yesterday because of technical issues, but we are ready to rock here as we look at the women's start list for round number 3. There are the top divers. Rhiannon Ifland leads the way, top seed. She'll dive last. Maria Paula Quintero will dive before her. Not bad competition. She's coming back strong. And, of course, Molly Carlson in the mix in that top 3.
Yeah, great to see Maria Paula Quintero from Colombia diving so well. But now we're set. We're on the platform. First diver, Paula Gilibert.
Paula Gilibert, what a way to start. Makes basically her debut on the World Series here in Northern Ireland. So we'll kick it off with round number 3, and Paula Gilibert putting on a nice show as a wild card diver. That's the way to get it done.
And I'm so impressed seeing these wild card divers. And this is a very, very tough location to have your first ever competition. I mean, she looked pretty nervous in the previous rounds when she was abseiling or rappelling down to that very precarious perch in the off-the-cliff rounds. But a fine dive by Paula Gilibert. Great job.
Yeah, I remember the 5 judges score between 1 and 10 for each, all right? The high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So 3 rounds of diving for Paula Gilibert. She'll have a total of 137.70 after adding the first 3 rounds together as we move on to Simone Leadhead, new permanent diver on the series. Again, this platform, 21 meters, 70 feet off the Ballycastle Harbour. Simone Leadhead, 21-year-old of Canada. Kaboom! Strong women's competition so far between the 2 divers of 12.
And great redemption on this dive. So in the previous round, she did struggle a little bit, but she put that behind her and got the job done. As a reminder to the folks watching cliff diving, if you're new to this sport, how high is it? Well, it's 21 meters, this platform. So that's 70 feet up, and hurtling their way towards these very, very chilly waters. 13 degrees, 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
So you see in yellow down below, 91.65. That's what she got on that particular dive. So when you add the first 3 rounds together, 166 for Leadhead. Strong score puts her in the lead. As we move on now to our next divers, Patty Valente, wildcard diver of Brazil, 36 years old. Calm conditions, Joey, wasn't really expected. So no excuses for these divers today, as you, I'm sure, dove in some crazy conditions, but when it's good, no excuses.
Great job by Patty on that dive. You can see some wrist tape there on the left arm, and that was from an injury diving off the cliff, and actually made contact with a safety diver in the water. But she's put that behind her. I'm watching some great vision of the athletes landing feet first, and once again, that's due to those immense speeds and that height, so they're not diving head first. They're not allowed to. There's the safety divers down there, this time in a nice safe position, let's call it.
Yeah, it's just when you do hit one of them, it can't feel good. But like you said, she bounced back nicely from that. 72 on that dive. So Valente will move into the top spot with a 170.125. She's 3 to go of 12. So we move on to Maylee Carpenter, United States. Very strong diver, climber. So when you get into these different conditions, Joey, the diverse conditions when the athletes had to rappel down to the dive spot, no problem for Maylee.
Yes, you look very comfortable. And when you're rappelling from the top, you really need to get comfortable and lean back into the harness. So some of the newcomers to the sport look pretty shaky as they made their way down, but after a few times they got the hang of it.
The men coming up next, that's the platform above at 27 meters, 90 feet above the harbor. So Carpenter with about a 2.5 second free fall into the Ballycastle Harbor she goes, and she's going to be psyched with that. She's going to need some strong points. Now running 4th of 12, that means she was low coming in after round 2 in terms of points.
Yeah, and this is where you see the divers start to gain some territory if they've got high degree of difficulty and they can get a great execution like this dive, really clean through the water, slightly short of vertical. But the judges, just remember, they're only judging the execution, not the degree of difficulty.
Yeah. Good point, Joey. 90 on that, 195.10 after adding the first 3 rounds together. All 4 rounds count. As we move on to our next diver, giving everybody a little wave up there. It's Madeleine Bayonne. Water temperature, by the way, 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, that platform, as Joey mentioned, 6 meters 21. Or that's the water depth anyway, 6 meters 21 feet. So that platform again, 21 meters, 70 feet.
So generally speaking,
squaring all the numbers away for
exactly.
you. All right, buddy.
So they travel down usually to around about 4 to 5 meters if it's a good entry. So looking at the graphics, that tells you what dive they're doing. Guess what she's going to do? An arm stand.
These are cool.
So she's going to press up. So arm stand. Forward, 2.5 somersaults, half twist.
You watch some of the divers when it's a little windy out, a little breeze, which is pretty calm right now. It's so crazy to watch. So Bayonne, the wild card diver. This is a great women's comp going so far. So the 28-year-old French woman and the first French female ever to compete on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series puts one into the harbor.
And what I like about Madeleine Bayonne, each competition I see her, coming from strength to strength. With all that experience, or every single competition, you're always learning something new. Okay, last competition I was a little bit slow on my dives. This competition I need to adjust for that. So very impressed with the wildcard divers, but you do need airtime, you do need experience to make sure you can become a formidable cliff diver.
So she'll keep 3 6.5s. Remember, the high and the low of the 5 judges that were tossed out, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. Carpenter's still in the lead with a 195. Bayonne, who you just watched, 194. Great women's competition. So we go on to our next diver, Gidi van Katwijk, Netherlands.
So we've got a really interesting dive here. She's only performed this dive a few times in competition. So this time, the exact same dive as Madeleine Bayon.
What's she doing there?
This time, adding another twist. And to answer your question, she's guiding the safety divers to make sure they're in the right position. And the safety divers will splash the water as well. And that will help the athletes see the surface. You can see the judges on the right-hand side of the screen there. That's the position they need to be on, that side angle. That way they can see the takeoff. They can see how close the dive is to the platform or how far away. So the judges are going to look at the takeoff. You shouldn't be too far away from the platform. You shouldn't be too close. And of course, that final part of the dive, the ideal scenario for the divers, what they're aiming for is the rip entry. Of course, that's that splashless entry.
She's 39 years old. Were you done kind of doing this stuff by 39? Or could you imagine still doing it?
I mean, like, it's different for everybody as well. Like, I think she's in great shape, and actually she's really improving with each competition. Big DD here as well. 4.2.
All right, oh, great dive by Causeway. 39 years old, so what?
Nothing but water vapor left behind on that dive. Bending at the hips, kicking, right? That generates the rotation, using the abs, wrapping into the twist, digging deep. That maneuver there is called a Barani. That's taken from the discipline of trampolining, a front somersault with a half twist, allowing the athletes to adjust the landing. Jeannie Van Catchwick nailing the dive.
Huge above the 100 mark, 102 on that. So Katvik with a 227 way out into the lead. That will bode well leading into round number 4, by the way, which is coming up live next. We're watching round 3. Just as a reminder, Trace Worthington next to Joey Zuber here. Thanks for joining in on our Red Bull Cliff Diving YouTube channel. This is the competition that took place yesterday, round number 3. We had technical difficulties, couldn't push out the broadcast. We got your back today, leading into round 4, coming up live next. Before that, Morgan Herculano and the rest of the ladies before the men hit the platform. So Herculano, the Harvard grad. Again, there's a lot of direction with the safety divers down below, a little bit more than I normally see, Joey.
No, exactly. There was a little incident in the off-the-cliff rounds. It can be very difficult for the safety divers. Why? Sometimes there's strong winds and strong currents, and it's really easy to get out of position. The conditions look much better today. Not too much wind. But, as a reminder, the temperature is very chilly.
What's the chamois for? Or did you already say that?
Well, the chamois for flicking each other. I mean, that's what we,
that was what
it was
you
like
did
towel
with it.
whacking.
That's what
you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what Zuber did. That's what Zuber did.
That's
with
what we
his.
all did. That was the thing back in the day. It was a good old chamois fight. Nothing wrong with that. But no, the chamois is used to dry off the legs, to stop the athletes slipping out in the air. And sometimes it happens. I've seen it in the Olympics before, in diving, and you saw a diver slip out in the middle, and it was just one hell of a smack.
Yeah, hands against the bare hands against bare skin, right? So on the knees. A lot of G-forces going on too, so always forcing your hands off of your knees, right?
Exactly. It's very easy to slip out.
Herculano looks nice in the air and very nice entry.
Squeaky clean, huh?
All the ladies so far have been drilling these entries. Outstanding performances so far.
And it definitely helps that the seas are calm here in the harbour, so you're protected in that harbour. But in some events, we're in the open ocean. You can see massive waves lapping up and down. And when it's very rough, sometimes they can change the height of the platform. Well, not height of the platform, the height of the dive. So it's an even playing field for all the athletes. That's why we're seeing those great entries. But of course, they're very talented.
You see all the scores down below. The one in yellow is the last score. All 3 dives from the first 3 rounds added together. So Herculano with a 2:12.95. That's what she'll take into round 4, coming up live next. First, Ellie Smart. Here at the 4th stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series in this 2024 season. Off to Oslo next. August 10th, Montreal. Antalya, Turkey. And then Sydney, Australia for the final stop. Ellie Smart actually had her first World Series start in Innismore, Ireland.
She did.
Back in 2017.
That was another foreboding, pretty daunting competition. A lot of the people I talk to, they say, man, these athletes must have no fear. But let me tell you, every time you're standing on the platform, you respect the challenge. You are nervous. And in round 4, hopefully we can see the heart monitor and you'll see the heart rate of the dives, or before the dives.
There's a lot more twisting going on there than the rest of the divers so far. So Ellie Smart, the 28-year-old American, putting one in the Ballycastle Harbour.
The great thing about the sport of diving and cliff diving is the athletes will choose dives they feel more comfortable with. Ellie Smart wrapping it up, twisting it up, 2.5 twists, looking at the water as she hones in for the entry. Some of the athletes prefer those rotating dives. And that's where you really have to spot the water and count the somersaults. And here when you're doing the twist, it's a feeling. You'll feel that gravity sensation as you're coming towards the earth, and that gives you that cue to come out of the dive. But they need to spend a lot of time on the lower platforms, 5 meters, 7 meter, 10 meters, that's 33 feet, gaining experience and getting comfortable with the aerial awareness before you work your way up to those heights. You don't take that plunge and just hope for the best.
So keep 3 sevens you see highlighted down below in white. That dive, 79.80. So Smart moving into 3rd place as we again continue with the women's round number 3. Getting down to the top 4. 2 rounds have already taken place, and all 4 rounds count in terms of scores. We started off at Dunluce Castle area and then went on to the Kinbane Castle. Beautiful dive spots directly from the limestone rock face. Joey, is an awesome competition, but now we move over into this Ballycastle Harbour area, the seaside town located in the dramatic northern Irish Causeway Coast. So look at Xanthia Panizzi. Before we get into the top 3. Panizzi of Australia.
Okay, back triple fall, so back triple somersault, 1 twist.
All right, Panizzi coming into the harbor. Is seawater that is 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Joey, we're talking about new to the sport. You know, let's get this out of the way too. The splash, a little bit bigger splash than some of the dives we've seen so far. How does that work with the judging?
So it definitely helps impress the judges, to answer your question. If you have that splashless entry, we call it the rip entry. However, still, it's really important the judges look at the line, the angle of entry. Are you short of vertical? Are you past vertical? There's Xanthia entering the pike position, so we can have a quick look at the end of the dive. And if you're not perfectly straight like a ruler, then you can't really cut through the water.
Got to create that tunnel.
Exactly. So if you've got anything left out, your elbows out, a little bit off angle, if your glutes are pushed out a little bit, that causes a little bit of splash. But just the minutest of details can kick up the splash.
Sense. Makes sense. So keep 3 sixes. So the judges got her a little bit on that splash and that landing. Not so much of a splash, but just the entry. And obviously with the splash, it just signifies, as Joey mentioned, that the entry wasn't perfect. But Panizzi, nevertheless, 209 will be her total after 3 rounds. That's what she'll take into the 4th and final round. Coming up next live, following the top 3 women from the first 2 rounds. And we'll get into the men. This is Molly Carlson. He's the one who puts the most pressure on Rhiannon Iflin, the 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champ. Iflin will dive last. She has the strongest score after 2 rounds coming into this 3rd round. Carlson, a champion track and field cross-country runner back in high school. Only been cliff diving for about 4 years now. She's done a nice job. Getting used to these elements is what she's trying to get used to. I mean, now, right? More experience in these different, diverse locations.
So she, as you're saying, in her facility in Montreal, it's a fixed environment, but here you're exposed to everything. In with triple half. Here we go. Oh, class.
There you go.
Molly Carlson. Woo! Now the athletes have to do different takeoff directions. Molly Carlson choosing inward on this. As a matter of fact, in the competition rules, you have to do 4 different takeoff directions. For example, you'd have to do a front and inward, in this case, a back and a reverse takeoff. However, in this competition, when you have the off-the-cliff rounds, they allow the athletes to do 2 front takeoffs, and that's due to making sure they have the capacity to get away from the cliff face safely. But a beautiful takeoff, beautiful position in the air, and once again, the judges are looking at form and elegance. Are the legs together? Are the toes pointed? Is it a nice entry? Yes,
Great job.
Is.
Wow, look at the 9s right there. She'll drop an 8.5 and 1.9, keep 3 of them, 99.9. Adding the first 3 rounds together, 240.90. So Van Katwijk was out way ahead of Herculano, but now Carlsen way out ahead of Katwijk with a 240.90. So Carlsen, Katwijk, Herculano, the top 3 right now. And again, it takes consistency. All 4 rounds count. So it's not over until that 4th round is complete, which we'll check out live next. Let's move on to Maria Paula Quintero, who's done a really nice job this competition, Joey. Typically don't see her in this top 3 coming into really any round. She hasn't been in the top 3 quite some time. So
yeah, and she came out of the gates hot in the first round, scoring 9s from the judges. It's great to see her performing so well.
And it's one thing in the first round, right, to carry a good score into round 2, but then to do it again in round 2, that's where it gets
maintain that second position.
Interesting.
A big dive here, front quad half. Watch the graphics, that'll tell you what the divers are doing and how high the degree of difficulty tariff is, 4.0. So front 4 somersaults in the tuck position.
There we go, Quintero.
How's the reaction, huh? Down below.
Wow. All right. 28 World Series starts. 2nd is her personal best. That's her only podium back in 2019. She's coming out blazing here after 28 starts. What's the change?
Stomping out. I don't know what's going on. I mean, let's have a great breakfast. She started the day well. The front quad half, incidentally, the first woman in the world to do this dive. And aerial awareness is key. Watch how she throws the arms to the shins. Now, it's very easy to slip out on these particular dives. We were talking about that earlier. That's why the chamois is so important to drive the legs. Sometimes they even use a kind of a sticky resin to make sure you can hold on tight. Did she get the job done? Yes, she did, and she did it in style.
All right, look at this.
Smoking the entry.
After 28 starts on the World Series, finding some energy, finding her stride here in Northern Ireland. The Causeway Coast, beautiful day, and Ballycastle. We'll get 100 on that. Add the 3 together, 246.50. So 6 points ahead of Carlsen. And Quintero puts herself into a great position with 1 diver remaining on the women's side in this round 3. Moving on to the men next. There'll be 12 men. But Rhiannon Iflen.
Who's Rhiannon Iflen?
Who is she?
Who's she?
I don't
know.
She is the 7-time King Keely Trophy winner. In fact, in Ireland is where she had her highest score, right? Highest
Perfect
total
10s.
score, perfect 10s.
5 perfect 10s from each judge.
It's the first time we've been in Northern Ireland. We'll see if she can pull off that type of stat here, but she's used to these elements, Joey. You've told me over the years that you're so impressed because she's an avid surfer, so she really gets after things and really can read the water, the conditions, not bothered by anything.
Very adaptable athlete, an excellent surfer as well, and the advantage being a surfer, particularly in locations like Portugal, when you have rough seas, she's very good at reading the swell. She's also great at diving under pressure in the triple half.
There you go. Standard reprogram there.
No way.
So after that dive, don't really need to wait for the judges on this one. We'll certainly be leading into round number 4.
Man, she zipped that one up, huh? I mean, that was just mere vapor left behind on that dive in the Ballycastle Harbour. Straight as an arrow, and we're talking about that before. The more vertical you are, making sure the arms are tucked in, the head in the right line. Man, that was incredible. But this is a dive where, on average, her average score on this dive. Can you believe it is 9s from the judges? And as a reminder, 10 is, of course, the perfect score. Elegant, graceful, making it look easy. Down she goes in the Harbour. Beautiful dive.
Nice work by Rhee. Again, she's had big scores in Ireland before with 10s. And here in Northern Ireland, she'll settle for all 9s, which is still massive. So 99.9 on that particular dive. You see in yellow, 261.90. So Iflen will lead the way going to into women's round number 4. But Maria Paula Quintero making some noise here with her 246.50 in second. And Molly Carlson always in the top 3, along with Rhee, coming into the 4th and final round. How about Gina Van Kotvik in 4th?
Amazing diving.
Wild card diver, 39-year-old, sitting in 4th. And so there are 7 through 12 here as we wrap up women's round 3 from Ballycastle Harbour, the beautiful Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. We'll jump right into the men next. The rain holding off. Not much wind happening here. Round 4 live is next. Miguel Garcia with the lowest score after 2 rounds will kick things off. It's reverse order. See Carlos Ameno, the strong diver of Spain. He will dive 6th. And then there you go. Top 6. Putting it off. Guzman, Heslop, Popovich, Jolito Martinez, the wild card diver, and Johnny Paredes leads the way. They are the top 2. So Team Mexico looking solid coming into round 3.
Great to see the youngster, the new guard, Jolito Martinez from Mexico, diving so well. He's picking up the sport really quickly. And Jonathan Paredes, as we saw, leading the way, maintaining that confidence from that podium finish in Italy at the previous tour stop.
Yeah, here we go. Miguel Garcia, 33-year-old, celebrating his 32nd start on the World Series. Making sure the safety divers are well positioned in place down below. So now we're looking at this platform, Joey. This is 27 meters, 90 feet above
It's nothing.
the ocean here in Ballycastle Harbour.
Let me tell you, it's a piece of cake. Equivalent of the 9th-story high-rise.
Well, let's get this out of the way, too. Feet first. Well, tough to go head first.
It hurts.
You're 90 feet,
It
27 meters up. I don't know.
No, that's actually part of the rules. You are not allowed to dive head first. I mean, you could do it for a one-off or a stunt in a movie, for example, but doing it repetitiously from competition to competition, there is just no way the shoulders and the rest of the body can handle that. Running takeoff. From triple somersault, 3.5 twists. This will be action-packed.
All right, Miguel Garcia, he needs a strong dive here to ramp up the points to get higher up on the start list going into round number 4. Your thoughts on this one, Joey?
Well, this round is all about degree of difficulty, so it's all about risk versus reward. So, of course, you can do really high degree of difficulty dives, but you need to make sure you can still get the execution right. If you don't get it right, sometimes it's just not worth doing the dive. Doing a great job in the triple twist. Amazing images as they hurtle towards the water. How fast are they traveling? 85 kilometers per hour. That's 55 miles per hour. It's brutal.
Water depth, 6 meters, 21 feet. Not much room there. 5 judges score between 1 and 10, the high and the lower toss. The remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. All 4 rounds are added together. 105.35 on his 3rd round. That'll help him a little bit, Joey. 184.45 is what he'll take into round 4. As the clouds roll in, get a little bit darker here. And our next diver coming up. Here's Pyrrhic Schaefer, the wild card diver, turns 22 tomorrow. Happy birthday to the wild card diver. Quite the birthday celebration. Being invited to the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, right?
It's an awesome honor, isn't it? Very tall diver, 195 centimeters. I dare say that's the tallest cliff diving athlete we've seen in the series.
Said his goal for this event is to gain some experience. And there's no better way to gain experience on this World Series to be tossed into an event in Northern Ireland where you have 3 different dive spots.
Yeah. Thrust into the fire, or thrust into the icy cold bath, I should say. There we go. So inward triple or inward quad somersault. In the tuck position, that's the ball shape. Here we go.
All right, you just see that drop time, Joey. It's absolutely crazy. A 3-second free fall into the Ballycastle Harbour.
It's crazy. I remember the first time I actually dove from 27 meters. We did a lot of competitions from different heights, sometimes from 20, from 23, 25, but I couldn't believe the difference going from 25 meters to 27. The last 2 meters, man, you literally start to hear the wind picking up, whooshing past your ears. And the thing that's interesting is that sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I've got this. And then whack, you take a hit in the chin. So the water comes up way quicker. And that extra 2 meters higher, Pierre Schaefer managing it pretty well. Slight over rotation. But as you said, gaining valuable experience at this tour stop.
The tall lad, as you'd say.
Lanky lad.
Lanky lad. 166.0 is the total after the first 3 rounds added together. There are 4 rounds in this Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, and so all 4 added together. Schaefer with that 166.0 sits in 3rd. All right, this is gonna be fun. Talking about this kid.
How awesome
kid,
is this?
I mean, 16 years old. He looks like he's 13.
It's like, hey, should you be here today, buddy?
It's like, hey,
show me your ID.
Hey, whose kid just went up onto the tower?
Yeah. Dad, did you sign off on this?
From Great
Mum
Britain.
and Dad down there having an argument about it. Going, hey, I didn't sign that document.
I mean, what an experience for this guy. Only 16 years old, from Great Britain. Went to a workshop hosted by Aiden Heslop and a couple other divers back when he was like 7 years old. And here he is.
On the world stage.
Yeah. See how he can handle it here. 3rd round dive for the 16-year-old.
Back triple, 2 twists.
Man, I'll tell you what, handling it nicely in the air, Joey, and gaining valuable experience here in Northern Ireland.
Let me tell you something. Look at the elevation. The technique in the twist is awesome. Great pike position. Yes, you'll see here at the end of the dive, he does over-rotate. However, I see the potential in this athlete. Yes, a little hunch, but it doesn't matter. The technique is awesome. So he has competed internationally in junior international diving competitions. He also competed in Montreal in 2022. I saw him dive there and I was very impressed. He came 2nd in that high diving competition from just 12 meters. And what a change going from 12 meters all the way up to 27. In my eyes, he handled that really well. With more experience, he will improve. And watch out for Archie.
And with more experience, he will actually set his alarm and wake up on time to catch the bus.
Yeah.
Earlier today off the cliffs, he missed the bus because he slept in.
Nice one, Archie.
So
love it.
I've never heard that story. And of course, the first time this 16-year-old gets on, he was like, I slept in, man. Yeah. What? I think we're gonna be telling that story about 10 years from now.
It will never leave him. You remember that day? Missed the bus?
Biggin coming in 2nd right now so far, 174.75. So give you an idea of where we're at now. For the 4th diver of 12 in this 3rd round is Nikita Fedotov, who's on this platform 27 meters, 90 feet above the Ballycastle Harbour here in Northern Ireland. So 12 men total, all 4 rounds count. So after round 3 is settled, we'll rework the order depending on the scores. It'll be reverse order from the lowest score to the high. And we'll go live with the women and men for round number 4, the final round. He's talking to the safety divers a lot more than other divers I've noticed in each competition. He's really particular about this.
Yeah, and he did have a bit of a hard landing. When I say a bit, a very hard landing at the previous tour stop. So he is backing off the degree of difficulty to play it safe, but that's A-okay in my mind.
Yeah.
It's just recalibrating a little bit. You can see him putting his mouth guard in as well. So it's pretty common to sometimes bite down on your tongue or the inside of your cheek. You can see his right thigh bandaged up. It's pretty common also to lose the legs underneath the water, so the legs do split apart sometimes.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest parts about the sport. Very common injury, the adductor muscle being torn.
All right, Fedotov putting one in. Nice entry for him. Continues to be consistent, this guy.
Absolutely. Great technique as well. He's got such an elegant line. Look at the flexibility. Look at his head right against his knees there. As I said before, he's just lowering the degree of difficulty just to recalibrate again. And you do need to do that. Traveling down to about 4 meters underneath the water when you're traveling from those speeds, but of course it depends how you land. So if you don't land so well, you ain't going to go so deep, let me tell you. It's very important. Also, the safety divers splash the water, and sometimes we have a mechanical pump to help spray the surface. That helps the athlete see the surface better, and particularly when you have very transparent waters like you would see in Thailand or Philippines, for example.
They'll keep 3 eights. The high and the low, again, are tossed. So those eights multiplied by the degree of difficulty, 91.20 for Fedotov on that dive. He'll move into the lead, way into the lead with a 223.20. Got to see is in second with a 184. So you kind of see how this is going now. James Lichtenstein from the United States, typically in the top 3 after 2 rounds. So he's got some making up to do. This is the current Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series leader for 2024. No Americans ever won the King Kahekili Trophy. Maybe James can pull that off this year. He's got 3 podiums, showing some amazing consistency. But this event, he's going to have a nice dive, Joey, to be positioned well going into round 4.
And this is where you can make up for some lost ground. Look at the degree of difficulty. 5.4, it's way up there. Back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults. So quite often you'll see the athletes after 2 rounds of diving, you know, they can be back in the field like an 8th or,
sure,
7th. And all of a sudden with the big dives, you can see that huge jump up. That's the heart rate, 142 beats per minute. The resting heart rate for most human beings is around about 60 beats per minute.
And that's a live heartbeat. Right on his left arm, you see that bandage, and that is what is reading the heart rate.
And that tells you what is going through the mind of the athletes before the dive. Big, deep breath. They're always nervous. I'm nervous watching this dive.
I'm always nervous watching arm stand dives.
He's got to be very careful here. Press up slowly.
Imagine that. 90 feet, 27 meters above the water.
90 feet up. Here we go.
Oh, man. What? That's how you climb up in the order right there. In the standings, James Lichtenstein putting one down under pressure. It's exactly what he needed to do.
Flipping his way into glory with that dive. Bending the knees, kicking into the somersault. Watch the head carefully here. Counting once, counting twice, counting 3. And there's the water. That is the moment where you say, thank the Lord I saw the water at that point, so you can adjust for the dive. He has superb aerial awareness. He really does understand where he is in the air, and that came from that trampolining background, and then he transferred over to diving, then transferred to cliff diving, and doing a mighty fine job, staying so consistent. And that's exactly what he needed to do to climb up the ranks, because he was back in the field. Let's see how he fares now.
Some big scores there. 8s from the judges. Again, when you multiply that by the huge degree of difficulty, you see that 129.60 in yellow. Moves into the lead by 41 points, logging a 264.35 after 3 rounds of diving. 4 rounds in total for both the men and the women, and all 4 rounds count. We are now 6th of 12 in the men's start list. Carlos Jimeno. So you see Lichtenstein, followed by Fedotov, Garcia. There's the top 6. Jimeno, you see Martinez and Paredes will cap things off in this men's round 3 before we go live to check out round number 4.
Pretty interesting here. We got the battle of the back arm stand 4.5. Exact same dive as James Lichtenstein. Let's compare styles. Let's see how Carlos Jimeno does this dive. There's the heart rate, 126 beats per minute, a little lower than James, but still way up there.
All right, Jimeno right after Lichtenstein. Compare the two, Joey. What do you think?
I think he wants to get out of the water.
13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hey, he's warm-blooded.
Chilly.
He's warm-blooded.
He is. He's used to the ocean, isn't he? I mean, the warm ocean.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
this
exactly.
is the ocean, but the warm part of the ocean.
He comes from Gran Canaria. That's very nice. It's usually around 28 degrees in the water. And now struggling at the end of the dive. He was definitely running out of room. He did a great job sneaking through the water clean, but he may get some deductions because he was running out of room using that split tuck there.
Running out of room, meaning just like
watch here,
the water's coming at him, right?
Coming out a bit early, and he runs out of room, right? So if he kicked out a little bit later, he would have had more room to finish the dive, or if he had a little bit more rotation. But there he is, getting on that on the back of the jet ski, that relieving moment.
Or if the platform was higher, which I don't think they want.
No. That's enough.
99.9 on that dive. So Jimeno will move into second behind Lichtenstein here in the men's round 3, 2:43.35. Moving up to our next diver. Round 3, Alexei Prigorov. The only Olympic diver to compete on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. He did that in 3-meter platform diving, Joey, so it's a lot different here, going 27 meters, 90 feet above the water when he's doing 3-meter springboard. There's no spring on this, and it's, a lot higher.
It's actually quite interesting when he did start cliff diving. So he didn't have a lot of experience diving off fixed platforms that don't move. So the springboard, of course, flexes and moves. And he struggled a bit with the dives in the sense that he would go too far away from the platform. So he had to work with his coach just to work out how to get the right distance. So it does take a big adjustment. But the thing about Alexei Prigorov, he's an Olympic diver. He has great acrobatic ability, great technique in the air, and he's always fun to watch. Big dive here, back 4 somersaults, 2 twists. Gonna take off backwards and use every ounce of power he's got. Here we go.
Oh, that's an amazing entry right there. Brilliant dive. Torpedo-like entry by Alexei Prigorov.
Busy with this dive. Look how much. And look how many details he has to work with. He's got the twist there. He's coming out, holding on the pike, using the abs, using the arms to hold onto that pike position, coming out of the dive. I mean, he's working it right to the very end. This is not easy whatsoever. Aiden Heslop, incidentally, does the dive, but adding an extra twist, so 1.5 twists here, coming out wide there. But imagine the locals here in Ballycastle watching cliff diving for the first time. And it is totally different when you're there, up close and personal, seeing those tremendous speeds as they hurtle towards the water. It is impressive.
Bunch of 7.5s he will keep. He'll drop one of them in an 8 for a total of 114.75. So Prigorov in second with a 261.75. That's the point total that he will carry into round number 4. So you mentioned, Joey, the audience and the crowd out there getting a wonderful display of athleticism here with the best cliff divers in the world. It's the first time that the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series has come to Northern Ireland. So you're right, Ballycastle, the population of only 5,500 approximately there, enjoying this event. So here we go with Sergio Guzman. Getting down to the top 5.
Getting down to some nice bathers as well.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Those are pretty fancy. Got some color to them. Guzman, one of 3 Mexican divers in this top 5. We'll see Heslop next. It's kind of his tradition before. every dive.
His pre-dive routine. It's kind of ritualistic. It's almost, you get kind of superstitious sometimes, you know. It's like if I don't do my routine,
Did you have any like ritual?
Yeah, I definitely have my, you know, a bit like Sergio, a little slap of the thigh, you know, and definitely a lot of self-talking. Come on, I would say to myself, I can do this.
Yeah.
And sort of shoot my hand down towards the water, kind of signaling the target of where you want to hit and how you want to hit the water. So it's very important to have the right mindset before the dive. It's risky business up here.
I figured you just get out on the end of the platform like, Zuber in the house. Zuber's here.
I've done it, you know.
Zuber.
I had a few antics
Pointing
occasionally.
at everybody, pointing at the crowd.
No, I didn't mind entertaining everyone. I'm not shy.
All right, Guzman putting one down into the Ballycastle Harbour. Crowd likes it. We'll see what he thinks of it. More importantly, what do the 5 judges think about it?
Another one of the athletes who doesn't like in the cold water.
Yeah.
Great elevation. What I did notice about the dive is it seemed like he was a little slow on rotation. So you can watch him here holding on and kicking right up to that vertical point because he knew he was a little bit slow. You can see he was just running out of a room a little bit. On these reverse takeoffs, when you're facing forward, so you have to move forwards but rotate backwards, you can run the risk of rotating slowly. So the technique and the timing on takeoff is absolutely essential. And that's why you do a lot of work in the gymnastic hall, working on the takeoff, working on the speed as well. So speed and power is crucial in cliff diving.
96.8, the 33-year-old Mexican diver on that. Round 3 dive, add that together with the other 2 rounds. Guzman with a 2:43.85, moving into the 3rd. Liechtenstein still leads the charge with a 2:64.35. Prigorov and Guzman in 3rd, who you just witnessed. Remember, all 4 rounds count, so anything can happen between round 3 and 4. Round 4 is where we're going to get it all done and settle who's going to make the podium here on the women's and men's side. That's coming up live next. So we look at the strong diver of Aiden Heslop. He's used to these areas from the UK. It's cold weather, this type of water, these types of environment surrounding does not intimidate this guy.
Once again, diving from 27 meters, that's 90 feet up, and you can see the wind meter at the back there. So it's not too windy. And Aiden's got a very big dive here, back 4 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position. Same dive or similar dive that we saw with Alexei Prigorov, but adding an extra twist. Very talented athlete, very powerful.
The story at age 10 when Owen Weymouth showed him a video of Gary Hunt doing a triple quad. He swore it was fake. That's what he told.
Right.
That's what he says. That's fake. And then later he actually found out it was real. And at age 12, he met Dave Colturi and Steve Lobu. How about those guys? At Area 47. 2 good guys to run into. They helped Aiden to the 27-meter platform. And after watching him dive from 27 meters, they were like, our jobs are on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be hot. So
help this kid. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. I had a lot of help from his coach, Fito Gutierrez, in Plymouth. And he was coaching him in diving, as well as Sally. He did a great job keeping Aiden in diving competitions, and that really helped him with the foundation of diving. And that's why he can do these really difficult dives, because he really worked hard on the lower platforms on 10 meters to do those complex somersaulting and twisting dives. And that gave him the platform to dive from this 27-meter tower here in the Ballycastle.
His real-time heart rate going up. 144, Heslop. Leaves the platform, puts one into the harbor, sets himself up nicely going into round 4.
Twisting it up, somersaulting it up. He did such an amazing job, particularly at the end of the dive. He knew, once again, he did not have a lot of time, and he worked so hard. Watch this. Coming around, he's like, whoa, running out of the room. Yep. Big, deep pike, and snuck through the water. He really whipped his chest up to try and sneak through the water. And here, using the arms, using the jump, and you need so much power, so much effort. It is full power, full speed ahead to complete that whopping back 4 somersaults with 3 twists and sneaking his way through the water. Well done, Aiden Heslop.
5 judges will weigh in for Heslop's round number 3 dive. The first 2 went well for him, putting him in a great position. 2 9s and an 8.5. He'll keep. Big DD, degree of difficulty 151. Moving into the lead, getting over that 300 mark. So way out in front of Liechtenstein is Aiden Heslop. And putting a lot of pressure on the next 3 divers. Heslop stoked with that one.
And he missed the podium. He was in 4th, not by much in Italy, so he really needs a podium to work his way up in the World Series ranking.
That's right, it is a tight World Series ranking as Heslop leads right now in round 3. Liechtenstein in 2nd, but he got off in 3rd. Doesn't matter what position you're in at this point, Joey. I mean, it matters what position you are for the start list coming into round number 4. But for Heslop to be at 300 points over Liechtenstein's 264, that's the story. Is
exactly
how many points that you have coming into the 4th round.
And also that gives you some buffer room in the 4th round. So let's say you don't quite hit the dive and you get 7s, you've got some room up your sleeve, so to speak. And Konstantin Popovic had a knee injury, hyperextended his knee in Boston, so he is playing it a little safer, unable to do his arm stand dive just at the moment, so he's lowering the degree of difficulty, but that paid dividends with that win in Italy at the previous tour stop. This guy's hungry for another podium.
And for those new to the sport, Joey just said playing it safely, doing a dive from 27 meters, 90 feet off the Ballycastle Harbour. Just playing it safe.
Perhaps I didn't put it in perspective to 27 meters and the 90 feet up and, you know, the inward quad half and it's really cold and really scary. You're right.
It's like instead of going 235 miles per hour, you're just going like 233, just playing it safe.
Exactly. Just turning it down a little.
Okay, Popovic with a bit of a splash, kind of an uncharacteristic situation. Characteristic situation
well,
for
the
Konstantin, but out of all seriousness, that is normally not what we see out of Konstantin Popovic.
I tell you what I do like, and the characteristic that I do like is the pike position ever so slightly past that vertical line, which shows you just need to be off by the smallest of margins.
Look at his face expression on that.
But look here, look at the flexibility. Look how the head is right against the knees. That is an athlete. He works so hard with his physical conditioning, his technique. Definitely, in my mind, one of the most determined athletes out there and very, very talented. Little miscalculation on the entry, but not much at all.
The 2023 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion, one of only 5 men to have that Covenant title. 115 on that, still not a bad score. However, second with a 264.45 and way far behind Heslop in terms of points. So a huge spread. Actually, he's tied with Liechtenstein with that 264.45, Joey. The young Joel Martinez now, I mean, how about this? I mean, he's 21 years old. He's a wild card diver, right? Came onto the scene this season. He's only had 2 stops under his belt, right? So, I mean, and now he's in second place coming into the 3rd round. I mean, that's huge pressure, but he's handling it nicely.
And on top of that, he's about to show us a dive that he only learnt a few days ago. Back arm stand, 3.5 somersaults, 2 twists in the pike position. Catalin Preda also performs this dive. How about that? A new dive.
He got 4th place his debut in Boston.
And 4th in the World Championships as well in Doha.
Kid's got some talent there, but just a little bit, Joey, an over-rotated dive. for the young Martinez.
But I've got nothing but respect for Gelotl. Yes, he over-rotated on the dive, but this is a brand new dive. It will take him some time to adjust and learn how to control the rotation on the dive. Perhaps he held on a little bit too long, and you can just see him going past that vertical line and kabooming up the entry. And when you've got more experience, what that does is you can start to gauge where you need to come out of the dive. Do I need to come out of the dive a little earlier? Yes, he does. Just held on a little bit too long in that circumstance. But trust me, with more time, more dives, he will hone it in and he will nail it.
Gelotl Martinez, 3.5s, not the score he wanted. Great experience. Look at him. He's like, shoot, I wish I had that better dive. But
that's
gaining some incredible experience for this guy. So hats off to him. But right now, coming into the final diver for men's round number 3, it's Heslop leading the way. Popovich in second, Lichtenstein in third. Remember, it's not so much about the positioning as it is the points. Heslop way out into the top spot by 36 points over Popovich in second. Let's see what Jonathan Paredes can do. Rough several years. Hadn't seen the podium quite some time. But then found it at the last stop in Polignano Amare, Italy, placing third. It's the first time on the podium since 2019. Now he's in the top seed coming into this third round.
Pretty emotional moment for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, those great scenes in Italy, in Polignano Mare, like you said, making the podium. That really must give you a nice cup of confidence, as they say. And last man on the platform, leading the way, doing a back triple-triple. If I say back triple-triple, that's diving lingo or cliff diving lingo for back triple somersault with a triple twist. Once again, diving from 27 meters, 90 feet up. Got his chamois in the hand there, used to dry off his legs. There's the drone there. Get that drone away. Pretty foreboding. The clouds out there as well. It's pretty ominous.
Final diver for round 3 before we get into the 4th and final round for both the women and the men, coming up next live. All right, Johnny Paredes, a lot of flipping and twisting there. Doesn't seem like he's happy with it. I thought it looked good.
Looked very clean through the water, but it looked like he was struggling on rotation. It was hard to see from that other angle. Here we have the 2.5 twist. Stopping the twist there at 2.5. Entering the pike position. Comes out pretty early, having a look at it. And this is when you start to understand how much time I've got left.
Oh, yeah.
He was in trouble. In trouble. And
but great job putting his feet underneath him and getting into the water.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was saying earlier in the show, that water can really come up very quick. Sometimes you think you've got a lot of time, he's just probably cruising, and right there he's going, oh no, I don't have enough time. And he bent his legs. Why did he bend his legs? That helps decrease the radius to pick up the speed, but the judges look at that as a break of position, okay? So he should have had his legs straight right to the very end, so they will deduct for that.
So Jonathan Paredes, 65.80 on that dive. So that pushes him way down in the ranks to number 7, and he is not happy with it. We'll see what he can get done in round number 4. And that is coming up next here from Ballycastle and the Northern Ireland Causeway Coast. So Heslop for the men, 300.05 is what he'll carry into round number 4. He is the man to beat. Popovich in second, Lichtenstein in third. We'll be right back with round number 4 coming up live. Trace and Joey signing off from round number 3. We'll see you soon. Welcome, everyone, to the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland, where the untamed beauty of nature meets the raw, ancient power of the earth. Welcome to Ballycastle, today's stage for the fourth stop of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. I'm Trace Worthington, next to cliff diving champion Joey Zuber. We're absolutely stoked to have you with us live from this dramatic, rugged, and chilly Atlantic coastline. No doubt, Joey, this will be one of the most exhilarating and challenging locations in the 15 years of the World Series for the divers.
Definitely very wild and rugged, very high winds today. Extremely chilly, 17 degrees is the air temperature.
Entering the midway point of the season after this, Athens, Greece was stop number 1 before Boston, USA. Poignal Mare, Italy was stop number 3. That brings us to here, Ballycastle on the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. Oslo, Norway is next. Montreal, Canada makes its debut to host stop number 6. From there, we venture off to Antalya, Turkey. And then for the second time in 2 years, Sydney, Australia will host the grand finale of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. And the location, this location, one of the very few in the history of the World Series to have different takeoff positions, a unique challenge for the divers. Here are some of the past locations that presented multiple takeoff spots. Take a look.
Red Bull cliff diving competitions are already challenging for athletes' bodies and minds. But the task at hand gets even more difficult when multiple takeoff spots are involved, especially in one single competition. A true rarity across 100+ Red Bull cliff diving stops. Divers first encountered multiple different takeoff locations in Krabi, Thailand, with Maya Bay, Wanglong Bay, Viking Cave and Hong Island. To this day, a record of 4 different dive spots to tackle. Of all of the 8 stops on the tour, a longtime diver favourite, the Azores, demanded the most skill from the athletes, as Portugal's biggest island, São Miguel, featured at least 2 different takeoff spots. The last time divers had to literally adapt to the elements with 3 or more different dive locations was now more than 5 years ago in the pristine waters of the Philippines' El Nido. That is until this stop at the rough shores of the Causeway Coast.
Beautiful locations over the years as we look at 7-time World Series champion Rena Niflin warming up alongside Aiden Heslop, both leading into round number 4. There's Orlando Duque, our sports director, making sure everything's cool. But for those new to Red Bull cliff diving, here's a snapshot of how it all works and the 2024 competition format.
Each Red Bull cliff diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving, with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
Beautiful trophy. Ellie Smart warming up. And in the 15 years of the World Series, by the way, only 2 women and 5 men have earned that prestigious trophy. Athletes warming up behind the scenes, including Maria Paula Quintero of Colombia. She's ranked number 2 going into this 4th and final round. 12 men, 12 women. Will begin with the women's 4th and final round momentarily, beginning with the women. Let's get up to speed, though, with Maria Paula Quintero. Round 1 dive. She's done a great job here at this competition so far, Joey.
That she has. And this is the cliffs of Dunluce. And Maria Paula Quintero from Colombia now currently sitting in 2nd place after 3 rounds of diving. She did come in second, incidentally, in 2019, so this is a chance for her to make the podium again. And here's a diver, a cliff diver, Jeannie Van Katwijk, really also finding form, currently sitting in 4th position. And that new arm stand dive that she showed off the tower really paid dividends.
Beautiful cliffs.
Yeah, and it's just stunning. This is Kin Bain off the cliff rounds. But now we're on the platform where they can really step up the degree of difficulty. Rhiannon Nifland diving into Ballycastle, and there is nothing left behind but water vapor. So 2 rounds off the cliff already, done loose. Kin Bain, and here we are in Ballycastle, and the athletes are braving the very windy and chilly conditions here today.
Expecting a lot of fans out watching as we look at the trek to the top of the platform. Ballycastle, this seaside town located on the dramatic northern Irish Causeway Coast. Nikita Fedotov makes his way up to the top of the platform. Again, we will begin with the women's 4th and final round, followed by the men. The judges are here, ready to go. Olivier Morneau-Ricard of Canada, he's our head judge. Julian Linas of Spain is here, 3-time Olympic Games judge. Valerio Palazzo, a new judge to the panel in 2023. Jeff Arbin of Australia is here. Ginger Huber from the United States, former World Series diver, is one of the judges today. A little light rain out here, folks. 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. This is chilly for the divers, if you can't imagine. 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit is the water temperature. And the wind kind of keeps picking up and slowing down a little bit. We hope it slows down for the divers so they can have a smooth round 4. Beautiful shot of Ballycastle, situated on the northeasternmost tip of Ireland. And here's the start list for the 4th and final round. All 4 rounds count and are added together. 3 in the books. Paula Gilbert, the wildcard diver, will begin. She will dive first. Anthony Panisi, the strong diver of Australia, will go 6. It is the lowest scorers coming into this round in reverse order. So Ellie Smart, Herculano, Katwijk, Carlson, Quintero, and then top seed Rhiannon Nifland. She will dive last. Thousands of fans rolling into the beach here in Ballycastle, the beautiful Causeway Coast again of Northern Ireland, as we get set for the women's round 4. It's going to be challenging, Joey, with these weather conditions.
Absolutely. And when it is cold, it definitely makes the muscles very tight, makes the impact hard as well. So when you're diving into relatively warm water, it can be a little softer. And actually, the athletes call it hot feet. Sometimes your feet are so cold in these conditions, you hit the water and your feet actually feel hot. It's a really hard impact in these conditions.
Making her Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series debut on the platform is Paula Gilbert. The women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet off the Ballycastle Harbour. And we are underway with the women's 4th and final round. First to dive, wildcard diver in her debut, Paula Gilbert of Spain.
It's just so impressive to see the new guard, the new athletes being able to manage these conditions. And this is not an easy one to be thrown into for your first event. I mean, I would have preferred somewhere in Polynesia or Hawaii, somewhere a little warmer. Nonetheless, some great diving here. The athletes landing feet first. And as Trace Worthington was saying, they're diving from 21 meters, 70 feet up. That's around about 7 stories off a high-rise building. Takes many, many years to become a cliff diving athlete. Many of them come from a diving background, some from gymnastics. Landing feet first as opposed to head first due to that immense impact, 71 kilometers per hour.
So it's 5 judges. Score between 1 and 10, as we explained earlier. You see highlighted in white, those are the 3 that she'll keep after the high and lower toss. The one in yellow, 49.50, is her final dive. 187.20 is the grand total of her points after 4 rounds are all added together. Great job by Gilbert. She's only been cliff diving since 2023.
Great job by the spectators. Nothing stops the Irish, let me tell you. They don't care how the weather is. They're used to it.
You gotta love it. And again, this is one of the most challenging locations in terms of multiple dive spots, inclement weather conditions, as we look at Simone Leadhead, new permanent diver, 21 years old from Canada. Average needed for first, 8.2, see there. So higher than 8.2 from the judges, 8.5s. So you like to say, Joey, and I'll tell you what, interesting to see how she performs in these conditions based on her experience.
She did struggle a little bit in the off-the-cliff rounds in Dunluce and Kinbane, and makes it all that much more difficult when you're on the cliffs because you don't have that flat surface, so they're diving on angled rocks.
And Molly Carlson and Aiden Heslop. Molly will dive number 10. It's her teammate, country mate, Simone Leadhead. So Leadhead putting one into the harbor. Molly Carlson likes it. Aiden, Molly and Aiden, boyfriend, girlfriend. And Simone Leadhead putting one into the harbor. Joe, we talked about a little bit of a splash.
Yeah.
If you compare this to traditional diving, as we see the games are coming up in Paris pretty soon. So tell us about that.
So when there is a splash, of course, it's more impressive when you slice through the water with no splash. But the judges are still looking at the takeoff, the flight, and the angle. You can see she was bent over, taking a bit of a chin shot, and she did look like she was a bit dazed when she hit the water. If you're off on the slightest angle, you can really feel it. Perhaps she came out a little bit early. She's coming around making that adjustment. You'll see here, the chin is left out, and you feel that like an uppercut in a boxing match. However, getting off the platform has been very difficult for the athletes with the windy conditions. We'll touch on that more during the show.
Making her 8th ever appearance on the World Series. Currently ranked number 4 in the World Series point standings. That's very solid. You see the judges throwing up their thoughts. Score between 1 and 10. Kind of mid-range. Not sure if she'll be happy with that. So Leadhead will keep a 5.5 and 2 6s for a 68.25 on that. And a grand total after 4 rounds, 234.60. Steph, her coach, already getting after the analytics for the next stop in Oslo, I guess, there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a very tough competition for Simone. She was a little slow on takeoff as well, but she's just got to put that behind her. But she is capable of great things, and we saw that at the first competition in Greece with that podium finish.
17 degrees Celsius, 62 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And that water temp, chilly, 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. As we look at Hassan there, taking care of business along with Orlando Duque, the Red Bull cliff diving legend and pioneer, World Series sports director, 3rd year on the job after retiring from official competition in 2019. The dude's dove everywhere in the world, 13 world titles.
Including icebergs in Antarctica.
Well, then
so he knows all about the chilly conditions, but he's rugged up.
Yeah.
And that tells you how very brisk it is today.
Well, he's rocking a little facial hair there for the cold weather as we look at Patty Valenti, our next female diver. 3rd to go of 12 from Brazil, 36 years old. Her first invite this season was at the first stop in Greece where she finished 9th. Made her World Series debut in Japan last season. Her sister's Jackie Valenti, also a wildcard diver on the World Series. So Valenti dropping in a nice entry from 21 meters, 70 feet off the Ballycastle Harbour.
Patty Valenti, squeaky clean with an entry. Big kiss to the cameraman. It's interesting after the dive. I do believe she knows she's done a good dive, but what really counts is the judges. Once again, the judges are only looking at the execution. They're not judging degree of difficulty. They need to look at the takeoff, flight, and entry, and then add those scores together and multiply it by the degree of difficulty. Round 3 and round 4, they're called optional dives, meaning that you can choose to do the most difficult dive you feel comfortable performing. So the more somersaults and twists, the higher the tariff, but also higher the risk. And you have to play that game between risk versus reward. Yeah, you can do a really, really, really hard dive, but you risk not executing it that well. So you've got to find that sweet spot to see what works for the competition.
She'll head over to the hot tub and warm up a bit, and she'll keep 3 7s, drop a 6.5 and a 7. So on that dive, she gets an 81.9. Again, all 4 rounds added together, 253.15. So Valente moves into the number 2 position right now. Iflin still holds down the lead, and she hasn't even taken a 4th round dive.
Amazing.
And you can see the wind now. Like it's just fluctuating between that 29 to 35 range, 28. This affects the divers tremendously, Joey.
So you have the constant wind, but what is very hard for the divers is when you get those strong gusts. So when it's a really gusty day, that tends to really disturb the divers on the platform. And we actually saw that in the warm-up dives. We saw a lot of divers trying to take off. The wind was pushing them. They had to step back and restart again. So it's not easy here today in Ballycastle.
The first French female ever to compete on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series is Madeleine Bayonne. She's 28 years old. She's directing the safety divers, Joey. Tell us a little bit about that. The safety divers down below doing a great job, especially in these cold conditions, but she directs them to make sure they're in a good spot.
Exactly. So the safety divers are there to retrieve the athlete in case of injury. So sometimes they can lose their way in the air, have a bad landing, meaning landing perhaps on your chest or your back, and they're ready to retrieve. It's important to have them in the right and safe distance. Here we go. Forward 3 somersaults, half twist in the tuck position. That's the ball shape.
So Madeleine Bayonne, a bit of a splash on that one. Joey, she said she had to suffer through many belly flops to get where she is today in cliff diving. And I'm sure that goes for all of the divers out here.
Oh, I've had some horrendous smacks in my time, and that is just part of the game. So sometimes you try a skill, you get lost in the air, you splat on your belly and your back, and you just got to get up and do it again. But these athletes do spend a lot of time working on the lower platforms from 5 meters to 7 meters, 10 meters.
Oh, wow.
The most important part of the dive is the first 10 meters, so the aerial acrobatics has to be right at that point, and that helps you get a better landing. Over-rotating there, you can see it just scooping through the water, probably traveling down about 3 meters. If you're wondering how deep it is, it's 6 meters deep. That is 21 feet. Now, the more vertical you are, the deeper you're going. You can see the over-rotation there, and that can stem from 2 things. Sometimes you can rotate too quickly from the platform, or you can come out of that position too late. There's the scores.
Some lower scores from the judges on this one. Gaining a lot of experience. She's only competed in very little Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series events. 247.50 is the roll-up after 4 rounds of diving added together. So Bayonne in 3rd place. Bayonne is 4 to go of 12 before we move on to the 12 men in this 4th and final round. Beautiful shot of a seaside town located in the northern Irish Causeway Coast, Ballycastle. And that's the inner parameters of the tower.
And you want to stay as warm as possible for as long as possible, so you keep that coat on right until that moment when you step out on the platform.
Yep. Ballycastle means town of castle. Actually refers to the ancient castle that once stood on the site of the present-day ruins. So that's the theme of this tower that is wrapped. The highest DD in this round coming at you here, Joey. Maley Carpenter of the United States, 36 years old, a very mentally strong diver.
That she is.
Who has great diversity, and her heart rate, 140. That is a actual heart rate, live heart rate from her right now, 141. We'll see how that goes, or up or down, or how she manages it.
And once again, to highlight this fact, the resting heart rate, the average human being is around about 60 beats per minute. So without any exercise whatsoever, the heart rate is climbing up to 140 beats per minute. So if you're thinking these athletes have no fear, no, they do. Every time they stand on the platform, they understand how challenging this sport is.
Heart rate staying there. 153. Maley Carpenter drills one in to the Harbour waters. Very chilly waters of 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So Maylee Carpenter pulling off a nice dive here in the 4th and final round, which is exactly what she needs to do, running 5 of 12. That means her points weren't that strong coming into this 4th round, Joey.
That's right, Trace. But great job, Maylee Carpenter, slicing and dicing away through the chilly waters here. And the hard part about doing these particular dives is when you're cold, it's so hard to get the arms moving. You really need these loose arms to be able to get that arm speed up. So the faster you get the arms up and the stronger you push the legs, you can get a better takeoff. But when you are cold, sometimes you'll see some of the athletes really struggling with that and under-rotating, but no problems here with Maylee Carpenter drilling the entry. She should be proud of that, and she should know that she's nailed it.
It was cool watching her in the off-the-cliff rounds over the past couple days, Joey, because they had to be rappelled down, the athletes did, as she moves into the lead with 300 points, by the way, but they had to be rappelled down to the dive spot. Maylee's she's a climber, you know, grew up in Boulder, Colorado. No problems for her getting down to that dive spot.
Exactly, and some of the rookies, I mean, they were so nervous going down, because you have to relax and lean into the harness and actually let it take you down. There's about 10 meters to rappel down to the cliff, or the ledge, I should say.
So Xanthia Panizzi, speaking of cliffs, this was her round 2 dive here, Joey.
And that's the location where they had to rappel into position, so they come down or abseil down about 10 meters, and you've got that angled perch. It's really difficult to dive on that angle downwards. You don't feel comfortable. You're used to standing on that flat surface. So the athletes are doing a remarkable job being able to manage so many different variables in the sport.
Long days of diving here. We have to go location to location, and now coming here for the 4th and final round of diving in the the inclement weather. And
I mean, the schedule
thrown at them.
And the schedule was crazy. We had that first day not finishing their dives till around about 8 or 9 o'clock due to the tide, to make sure they had enough water depth. Up again at 5 o'clock in the morning and off to the other cliff at Kinbane, and then diving off the platform in the afternoon. So it's been unbelievably challenging all round.
Currently ranked number 6 in the World Series points, the 25-year-old Xanthia Panizzi next to drop. Incredible 2023 season by earning 4 podiums out of the 5 stops. As we look at Rhiannon Iflin, the 7-time World Series champ, getting warmed up. She'll dive last. She needs 8s to pull into the number 1 spot. Carpenter in the lead with a solid 300 points over, well, Iflin still sits second right now because of her points, but Valenti with a 253.15, second place in this particular round.
Inward 3 somersaults, half twist in the pike position.
Known for taking her time on the platform. So Panizzi shows some patience on the platform. Not easy to do when you hear all of the surroundings, Joey, the crowd, the wind, everything that's being thrown at her today with the elements. Do you prefer to stay on the platform long, or did you, in your diving days, go quicker?
Well, I don't think a lot, so I just go.
Yeah.
No, but you speak to some of the experienced divers, and some of them just like to get up there and they say, look, the thinking's already done before you get on the platform, but it's not uncommon to see that. I mean, Gary Hunt took quite a while. These inward takeoffs are very difficult in the wind, and the wind's coming from the back. So if you're standing backwards on the platform, the wind is actually pushing you from the back. And in the warm-up rounds, we saw Rhiannon Iflin and many of the divers having to step back and restart. Beautiful pike position in the air. And when you do the pike position, that will give you more degree of difficulty than the tuck position, for example. But great diving by Xanthi Panisi as she plunges into the water, 6 meters deep.
Judges throw up the scores. A bunch of sevens up there, 7.5. She was 64 seconds on the platform before committing. 83.85 on that dive. You see that in yellow. When you add up all 4 rounds over the past couple days, 292.85 for Panisi. That puts her into second place behind Carpenter, who leads over Panisi by 8 points. And there's Connor McGuire, Red Bull surf athlete from Ireland, particularly known for his big wave surfing skills. He's out here running the jet ski for us today.
There's a man who knows all about fear as well. Very brave athlete.
Running that thing in 60-foot. I mean, he's surfed 60-footers before, so
that's massive.
Like, I mean,
that's just under 20 meters.
Cruising around the harbor on the jet ski today is not a big deal, right?
Cushy job. No, but it's great that he's with the athletes and being part of the atmosphere. Maria Paula Quintero getting ready. She's sitting in second place currently, looking to see if she can make the podium for the second time in her career.
Moving up to Ellie Smart, 28-year-old American. Her first ever World Series start was actually back in 2017, which took place in Innismore, Ireland. What's the degree of difficulty look like on her dive, Joey?
It's cranking up there, 4.2. So the graphics will tell you what type of dive the athlete is about to perform. So the next diver will be able to see how many somersaults, how many twists, but we've got back arm stand, 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists. Scary stuff.
She's got a heart rate monitor, so we're getting a real-time preview of her heart rate. It's mounted just underneath the suit. It's been a tough season for Ellie, Joey, in terms of results on the series, World Series this year. 9th place being her best finish out of 3 stops.
Very unconventional press up to the handstand. Only arm stand dive in this round.
In the wind. Smart commit. Oh, there you go. Ellie Smart perfectly piercing through the water here in the Ballycastle Harbour and going quickly for probably good reasons. An arm stand dive, the only one, as you mentioned in this round, Joey, with the wind going on. How difficult is that?
Not easy. And she was struggling in the arm stand. She was wobbling a bit, losing balance. And the judges do need to look at the arm stand. They need to see a steady balance. So I do believe she's feeling pretty relieved to get a really nice entry on that. But the question remains is how the judges see the dive. So she's just cartwheeling up into the handstand. Just a little bit of an overbalance then. She's got to correct it. You can see that. And then getting to the top position. Got to bend the elbows, bend the legs, and then getting the rotation, moving away from the platform. But can you imagine? 21 meters up, 70 feet high, 70 kilometers per hour. And there she goes, getting the dive down in Ballycastle. But again, the judges need to look at the dive. What was the takeoff like? Was it a strong takeoff? Was it neat and tight in the air? And how was the entry? They're always sitting on that side position.
All right, so judges weigh in. Head judge to the far right, Olivier Morneau-Ricard, gives her a 7. And so 90.30. So adding all 4 rounds together, Smart with a third 3:01.20 will pull into the lead over fellow American Maylee Carpenter, who has 300.70 points.
That's what she needed. She was back in the ranks.
So there you go. Smart, Carpenter, Panisi, the top 3 for now. And then you say still to come. Herculano, Van Kotvik, excuse me, Carlson, Quintero, and Ifland. So midway through the women's 4th and final round. As Joey mentioned, it's been a long few days for the athletes. The Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland and Ballycastle, absolutely beautiful. Towering above the sea and the cliffs along the Causeway Coast. Breathtaking views of the Atlantic Ocean. The giant causeway consists of thousands of interlocking basalt columns formed by ancient volcanic activity. UNESCO World World Heritage Site, a geological marvel, Joey Zuber. I love the green rolling land of Northern Ireland. It's just plush.
It is, isn't it?
It's very smooth.
It is very splush, like little golf greens on top. But no, it is an impressive coastline. Ellie Smart looking very relieved.
So Ellie Smart, top spot for now, 3:01.20. That is the score to beat. Morgan Herculano of Switzerland, 24 years old, made her debut at stop number 2 in Boston, USA. She finished 11th there. She's a Harvard grad, so spends a lot of time in the U.S., got a degree in economics and secondary in energy and environment. Top of that, she speaks 5 languages.
Pretty
now she's a cliff diver here in Northern Ireland. Just a lot going on.
Her mum's like, can you just make money a different way? I mean, you're very clever.
Yeah.
No, but it's a great lifestyle in the cliff diving scene, traveling to some of the most beautiful locations in the world. So make sure you follow the entire season. You'll see some breathtaking locations. And I really found diving in these cold and, myself personally, windy conditions made me more nervous, more comfortable in those warmer environments.
Slashing into the water. Morgan Herculano.
Morgan has really improved by leaps and bounds. And she really has, getting a lot more consistent. And she seemed to really manage herself very well with the off-the-cliff rounds. That is super impressive. Big fist pump. Showing how strong she is. Well, all of the athletes are very strong. Speaking of strong, certainly needs to be mentally strong. Visualization is very important in this sport. I mean, you've got those mind games always going on just before you dive, like, will I be all right? Will I understand where I am in the air? And that is the biggest fear for most of the athletes, is losing your way in the air and wiping out. And that's happened to everybody at some point from the lower platforms. And that's the thing that's on the mind of all the athletes, and you do see it from time to time. But one way to combat that is preparation. There is no substitute for hard work. The more that you work on the aerial awareness, the more comfortable you feel diving from these heights, but it's never comfortable.
Yeah, just some decent scores there by the 5 judges. Once again, the high and the low are tossed, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So for the now researcher at Harvard Business School, Morgan Herculano comes in with an 85.10 on that dive, and then when you add all 4 together, you see far to the right in red, 298.05. So Herculano in 3rd place behind Carpenter and Smart, who leads the way.
All right, time to get into the jacuzzi.
Just 3 more divers to go. This is getting exciting.
Joey, the conditions out here, we talk about the chilly weather as Smart leads the way. Carpenter at first, Herculano, you just saw in 3rd. You see who's to come. 4 left to go in the women's competition. The water, is it a little bit more dense when it's that cold? Does it make it more difficult for the divers?
Yeah.
Perhaps our last stop in Italy, where it was nice and warm and clear.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's quite odd sometimes. I mean, you just turn up to a location. We've had some in Switzerland, for example, and everyone goes, man, that's a brutal impact. Generally speaking, when it is colder, it's definitely a lot harder impact. I mean, I prefer diving in, the open ocean waters. When it's a bit warmer, it seems to be a lot softer. We've dove in some gorges before in Italy. We're in that compressed location. Maybe there's a bit of sediment. It tends to make the water a little harder. And Jeannie Van Kajwijk, you can see the graphics. So front, 3 somersaults with 1.5 twists. She's just making a sign to the safety divers that she's doing a running takeoff.
Okay. Matt Cooper. That's her husband. He's also a wild card diver on the World Series. This is Jeannie's 5th career appearance on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. So just getting started on this particular series. She's been doing a lot of diving on cruise ships along with her husband, Matt. So now she's got the wind down here, Joey, okay? And then you have 5 judges, a little bit different than performing in the cruise ship scene.
Absolutely. Always more pressure, but I do think it's a big advantage coming from that performance background. So you're able to get up on that platform and know what it feels like to be in front of big crowds. I mean, sometimes we've had some events like in La Rochelle, for example, up to 80,000 spectators. It's like a rock concert. It's incredible to watch. Running takeoff, so she'll run towards the end, front 3 somersaults, 1.5 twists.
She's the eldest of the female divers, by the way, at 39 years old. So Jeannie Van Katwijk continues to show consistency. Her husband Matt likes it. Fellow divers appreciate it. And her personal best on the World Series with only 5 starts.
This
is fifth place, so this could be a podium finish here.
Without a doubt, I think this will be her best performance yet. And she tried out a relatively new dive. She's done it before in round 3. She did an arm stand dive. Got great scores on that one. Good degree of difficulty as well. 4.0 on this dive with a good clean entry. The rise of Jeannie Van Katwijk. And the question remains, will it be possible for her to make the podium here today? Entering the twist, entering the pike. The only people who can decide on Jeannie Van Katwijk's fate is, of course, the judges. Once again, they're only looking at the execution. They don't judge the degree of difficulty. But a mighty fine job by Jeannie Van Katwijk.
Great scores, Joey, and a 9 by one of the judges. That of Olivier Morneau-Ricard, a bunch of 8s in there. That will easily pull into the top spot. She'll keep 2 8s and 8.5, so 98 on that. 3:25.30, so ahead by 24 points. New career best, automatically guaranteed top 4. But the question is, Joey, and you said it best, the fate of her podium lies in the hands not only of the 5 judges, but Molly Carlson, Maria Quintero, and Rhiannon Iflin also have a say in the matter.
But that'll be a great feeling for her, knowing she's come into the competition, giving it all she's got. What a great performance. She'll always walk away feeling proud of this particular event.
So Jeannie Van Katwijk, 39 years old, now holds down the top position. Molly Carlson, 25-year-old Canadian, currently ranked number 2. How about her round 1 dive off the cliff?
I love the off the cliff round. This is done loose. Look at that diving platform directly from the rock face, busting out the triple half. And this was a very early morning. Oh no, this was the late afternoon cliff dive, I should say, taking place around about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. But what beautiful scenery along the Causeway Coast. Hey, there we go. The die-hard fans, that's what I like to see. Good on ya.
Nobody's in shorts, by the way.
They're brave, but not that brave.
It's about a 1-hour drive north of Belfast, by the way, and a 2-hour, 45-minute drive straight north of Dublin here on a beautiful day. Not a beautiful day, a chilly day, but a beautiful competition, I should say, in Ballycastle on the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. As we look at Molly Carlson, degree of difficulty on this one, 4.4, Joey. She's going to need something special here. She knows what Iflin has in the tank, and she's coming up soon.
And actually, we do need to correct this, but this is the highest degree of difficulty dive in this round. How many somersaults will Molly do? Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 somersaults with a half twist to pike position. Also using the running takeoff. Why is she doing the running takeoff? That will help with a little more height and rotation. Marking out the run-up. It's Aiden Heslop, her boyfriend.
He will dive last in the men's round. He's leading by a long shot. Jeannie Van Katwijk holding down the top spot, warming up in the hot tub. Winding down to the top 3 after 3 rounds. Heart rate, 131. Going down.
She needs 6.5s from the judges to take the lead.
Molly Carlson with a huge dive and an important dive to stay on the podium. Athletes like it. Aiden likes it. The Brave Gang likes it. We'll see what the judges think.
And the challenging aspect of these particular dives, yes, really high degree of difficulty, but it makes it more difficult to get those really clean entries. Here's Molly doing that run up to get the high arms above the head to help get the rotation going, to throw into that pike position. 1, 2, 3, 4 in total. You can see that underwater shot traveling down about 4 meters, but you can see the angle of her body shooting backwards, and that denotes that she's landing a little bit short of vertical. This is the side angle, the angle the judges will be looking from. And you can really see how good the takeoff is. Good takeoff. Pretty good pike position. A little bit of a bend in the knees. She's holding on, trying to feel what to do at the right time. And actually, she looked like she's probably feeling like she was a bit fast, and so she laid that dive out, but ended up a little bit short of vertical, but still so impressive doing these high degree of difficulty dives.
So 81.40 for Carlson, 322.30. So Jeannie van Katwijk of the Netherlands will find the podium.
Wow.
As Carlson now in second. So there's the reaction by Jeannie. First ever podium on the World Series. Well, she hasn't had that many starts.
No,
it's only her fifth start.
But
so.
she's worked so hard with her partner, and with Steve LeBeau back in Fort Lauderdale. She moved herself out there, took the time to train hard, and it paid dividends. Congratulations, Jeannie van Katwijk.
So now she's guaranteed third. So depending on the dive, between Maria Paula Quintero coming up next and Rhiannon Iflin, we'll see if she upgrades from third to second or even first in this matter.
What an exciting competition. Great to see that leaderboard getting mixed up, or shaken up.
Yeah. So here is Maria Paula Quintero, who we haven't seen in this position, Joey, coming in second after 3 rounds.
Right.
Diving number 11 before Rhiannon Iflin, wedged in between Molly Carlson and Rhiannon. We haven't seen this out of her. She has 28 World Series starts. Second is her personal best. She's been on the podium before. That's her only podium. That was back in 2019.
In Italy.
At 18 years old, and the youngest female in the World Series ever to earn World Series podium.
Now she knows she's got a podium in her grasp, and it definitely adds more pressure on you before the dive. You've just got to get in the zone and focus on the dive at hand, not the result. In with 3 somersaults, half twist tuck. Maria needs, let's say, a combination of 7s and 7.5s from the judges to take the lead.
So Maria Paula Quintero, look at that. Sergio Guzman, who we'll see shortly, likes it. And tell you what, Joey, she has found her stride. Hasn't seen the podium since 2019. She's been really consistent. In fact, hasn't placed outside of the top 8 between this season and last. But in terms of consistent podium finishes, we haven't seen that.
Exactly. Very, very good job across all 4 rounds. Here's the inward triple half. And as a reminder, all 4 rounds count, all added together. A little heavy on the landing. From the side position, I'll be able to look at the angle of takeoff. There's the ball shape. You can see relatively close to the platform. You need to do that to maintain rotation. If you move too far away, that'll make the rotation slower. Just a little bit short of vertical, not by too much. Let's see what the judges think. Oh, here we go.
Winding down, 1 diver less left, and Rhiannon Iflin coming up next. 6.5 is what she'll keep, 72.15. That won't cut it to remain in second or be on top of the podium. Third place, 3:18 for Maria Paula Quintero. So a podium spot for now. Van Katwijk guaranteed silver. Carlson in second, guaranteed a podium spot. Quintero now on the bubble. A great women's competition so far, Joey.
Yeah.
For these conditions.
But this is the point. It's great to see all of the field really starting to come up the ranks. They put in the effort. And it's really paying dividends here in Northern Ireland.
So Rhiannon Iflin is coming up next. Celebration already beginning for Jeannie van Kotvik, the 39-year-old diver of the Netherlands. So looking chill is Rhiannon Iflin, the 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. She only needs 5s from the judges. She can do that.
So you can see the dive.
No problems.
Yeah, back 3 somersaults, 2 twists. And it was very, very windy in the warm-up dives. It was very hard for Rhea to get the dive off. Took 3 attempts. I think we're
the go to women's cliff diving, by the way, if you're new to the sport. It's their 47th World Series start, the most of any other female. 37 victories, 44 podiums, record-breaking. 95.6% podium strike ratio, unheard of. 37 wins out of 46 starts. It's an 81% winning ratio.
not bad, eh?
Not bad.
Not bad. It's pretty good.
The avid surfer, Joey, you tell me all the time, she knows these conditions well. Nothing really, really gets to her. Even though during training, the wind got to her, she actually backed off some of her training dives just a short time ago.
Yeah, I do think the wind has dropped off in the competition, thankfully, but warm-up dives was really bothering many of the athletes. Here we go.
Oh, and Rhiannon Iflin sending it into the Ballycastle Harbour. And it looks like it will be 3 for 3 for Rhee in terms of wins this season. 3 in a row.
Ladies and gentlemen, simply stunning diving. What a superb entry. Leaving her most difficult dive for the 4th and final round. One of the most versatile athletes as well. And as we were talking about earlier, she comes from that surfing background, and that helps her with the off-the-cliff rounds. There's a twist at the beginning. But that is what she does so well. Coming from that trampolining background, understands how to get on her feet. Got thousands of repetitions. The combining diving, trampolining equals one damn fine cliff diver. And she's just got raw talent as well. But of course, she's put years and years of training into this discipline. But what she's done well is train her mind. She has the capacity to handle any condition and competition pressure.
Her good friend, Jonathan Paredes, who found the podium in Italy. We'll see him shortly. She congratulates Jeannie van Kotvik on her 2nd place finish because Rhiannon Iflin just sealed the deal once again. Iflin with another stunning performance with 110 points puts her 46 points ahead of 2nd place. So Iflin reigns supreme in Northern Ireland. Win number 38. And 45 podiums. Unheard of.
We'll be very relieved to finish the competition today. It's been a big week for them. And Rhiannon Iflin obviously congratulating Maria Paolo-Quintero. Didn't make the podium, but nonetheless, excellent performance.
Let's recap from round number 1. It takes all 4 rounds to close the deal and be on top of the podium, Joey.
Rhiannon Iflin with her signature triple half, elegant, stylish, diving off the cliff without the aid of the platform and done loose around about a 30-minute drive from Ballycastle where they're diving from the platform. And this is Kinbane where they rappelled into position. Look at that graceful, old-school, stylish dive. and a squeaky clean entry. That's the type of entry we're used to seeing. But look how graceful this is. The reverse flying dive. Nice little arch in the back, a little touch of the knees, arms up, a little bit of flight control. Radioing in for a beautiful landing.
Some seagulls enjoying it too.
And here's round 3. Boom. 9s across the board on that dive. So round 3 and round 4 is all about degree of difficulty from the platform. You need that platform to be able to do those difficult dives. But I have to say, I do love those off the cliff rounds. I love seeing it, but I also love seeing an athlete perform so well across all 4 dives, whipping it around, slicing and dicing away for an incredible entry. She came out of the water and she knew she had the job done. Great technique on the takeoff. But as we were saying earlier, she's got so much experience, the most experienced athlete in the field. Congratulations, Rhiannon Ifland, for another win.
Michael Frosty Snow is down waterside, checking things out, and he's with Rhiannon Ifland.
Rhiannon, that was an incredible dive, as we are used to seeing, but we had some really tough conditions. I saw during training that wind was going nuts. How do you push through that when you're trying to get ready for the finals event like this?
Yeah, look, that was one of the most difficult days that I've had diving. Yeah, in the training, as you said, the wind was just constantly gusting, and yeah, it was kind of hard to get the dives off. It's cold, but you know, you have to be resilient. I think, to be honest, it's easier in the competition because you know, like, this is your moment. This is when I need to deliver, and yeah, that's all that was going through my head, so that got me through it for sure.
Well, we definitely had some unique conditions here in Northern Ireland, jumping off the cliffs, early mornings, diving around dolphins. How does that affect you? Do you enjoy that more? Is the challenge exciting?
Yeah, I think for all different divers, it's different. But for me, I really love the challenge. I love being out in nature, and I love those kind of days full of adventure. I would say that this is definitely one of my favorite stops so far. You know, with those 2 different off-the-cliff locations and the rappelling, and yeah, just full of good fun.
Well, you definitely put on a show for all of us. Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Thank you. Love you all.
All right, thanks a lot, Frosty. Rhiannon Ifland.
I hope Frosty's not too frosty. Sorry, bad joke.
No,
That's a bad joke.
It's all good. Rhiannon Ifland, though, tells us she still has a lot of fear on that platform. Didn't look like it over the past couple days. So the incomparable Rhiannon Ifland taking home the #1 spot today, win number 38 of her World Series career. Jeannie Van Kotvik lands on the podium for the first time, and Molly Carlson always on the podium as well. There you go, 7 through 12. Women's final results here from Ballycastle on the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. That's our podium right there. Ifland in the center. Jeannie Van Kotvik, second place. 39-year-old on the left-hand side, Molly Carlson. Always smiling, always having fun. Third place. And the best dive, earning another point. You get 20 points for the win. That's what Rhiannon Ifland.
And sometimes that comes in handy, yeah. You get that extra point if you have the highest scoring dive. So she scored 9s on this dive. And if someone else had 9 halves, of course, they would have got that extra point. But that, like I said, can come in handy, particularly if you're back in the ranks, just to shake things up a bit, make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah. So she'll get that, take advantage of that extra point. 78 for Ifland. So way out into the lead as the women now finishing this particular competition. As we turn the corner for the second half of the 2024 season, Ifland is dominating. Carlson in second, Arnett, who isn't here, third. Well, it's one thing to dive from 21 or 27 meters above water, but doing it above rough seas and moving water is another challenge entirely. Tales from the Cliffs gives us a glimpse into past locations with rough conditions over the years, told by some of the divers. Here's what they had to say.
I will say the roughest conditions were definitely back in the Azores. You know, Azores was always that place that you love and you hate at the same time because of the beauty of the place, but also, you know, it was very rough. And I will say Inismore as well was very challenging. But in the end, when you see it and when you see the photos, you were like, wow, this is like an insane place and beautiful.
I think I want to say the roughest that I had to deal with was probably maybe in Lebanon. That was challenging. We dropped down to 3 dives even because it was quite wavy.
For me, I'm sure you'll get this from a lot of people. It was Ireland last time at Downpatrick's Head. There's definitely been some worse ones before my time, but that was a tough one, and especially the fact that it was my 3rd competition and the 2 before that were in Spain and Italy.
Downpatrick Head was, you know, a terrifying first season for me, and I had never seen waves like that in my life. Downpatrick Head was just something else. You're literally diving and you don't know what height the platform is going to be because each wave is 3 meters. But I did get my first 10 in the craziest conditions ever down in Ireland.
Diving off the platform is pretty nice sometimes. We have a cushy job at the minute, but diving off the cliff, you know, it kind of puts it into perspective again and kind of almost makes me fall in love with the sport again.
Well, the rough conditions certainly create beautiful scenery. 3 rounds of diving in the can. Aiden Heslop leads entering round number 4. That's him there doing a little juggling, inspired by Gary Hunt. Let's see how things went down for the gents in there before this 4th and final round, Joey.
So here we have Jalotl Martinez diving from the cliffs in Dunluce, the new guard, the new generation, proving he's got the goods to be in the mix with the big guns and scoring 9s on this dive. So we could expect some great things from him in the future. Also trying out a new dive from the platform at this tour stop. Great to see.
He's only 21.
Exactly. Great to see the youngsters. Kinbane off the cliff once again. Konstantin Popovic takes flight from these beautiful cliffs, breathtaking scenery and daring athleticism. Now, Konstantin Popovic currently in 2nd place after 3 rounds of diving. But round 3, it's all about Aiden Heslop nailing his round 3 dive. High DD, high scores. Now in the lead by 35 points. He missed the podium in Italy. Definitely looking for a win to climb up the series ranks. It's the midway point of the season, so it's important to put the pedal down right now. But that 35-point lead should give him a little bit of breathing room with his final dive, but he is a little bit tentative with his knee at the moment. He did hurt that with some of the rappelling in the off-the-cliff rounds.
The men's start list. Pierrick Schaefer will kick things off. He has the lowest score coming into this 4th and final round, the wildcard diver. That's why he's going first. And then you have the top 6 after 3 rounds of diving. Jimeno, Guzman, Prigorov, James Lichtenstein, the World Series leader from the United States. And then we will look at Konstantin Popovic and Aiden Heslop as we get ready for Pierrick Schaefer. Only 21 years old. Turns 22 tomorrow, so happy birthday. What a gift being invited to this first ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series for the Swiss diver.
How cool is that?
Just thrown into the mix, you know, like with the big dogs and in a challenging location. Joey, you and I were talking yesterday. I said it's kind of like going from club tennis to the Wimbledon final, right? Like,
it's kind of like
overnight.
Right, yeah, you thrust this in. Here you go. Deal with this. 27 meters, 90 feet high, high winds, 17 degrees air temperature, 13 degree water temperature, waves, diving off the cliff, rappelling. Need I say more? Not easy.
Yeah, here's your welcome pack. Now go ahead and leap off this cliff face into the cold Atlantic Sea.
195 centimeters tall, Pierrick Schaefer.
So that's tall, 6 feet 4 inches.
The tallest diver that we've seen in the cliff diving series.
Kind of reminds me of a lanky man from the United States. Andy Jones.
Oh, he's not that tall.
Come on, right? No?
About 6'1". About 6'1".
Well, Andy was tall. He always was tall coming on the other platform.
Speaking of tall, that is a tall platform. What a great view. 27 meters, 90 feet up.
Look at that drop.
Wow.
Safety divers down below, right there, Joey.
Mm-hmm. Splashing the water, helping the athletes see the surface if the water's very transparent, sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate between the surface and the bottom of the ocean.
If you're new to the sport, the divers go down with, the safety divers go down with the diver underneath the water.
You can see that water pump there as well. Back 4 somersaults tuck.
So Pierre Schaefer, how about that?
Nice diving by Pierre, huh?
Yeah, he says, I'll make you happy if you give me an invite to the World Series.
And that's a great point. If you're a wildcard diver, it depends on how you perform if you want to get more tour stops. Your job is out there to impress Orlando Duque and the judges, of course, and with good diving, you may get some more stops.
He said that his goal for this event was simply to gain experience, and you're with the top 12 in the world in cliff diving. You're going to get some experience, especially at this location where this water depth, 6 meters, 21 feet, and that water temp, Joey, 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
And folks, if you can dive here, you can dive anywhere. Like if he comes up to the next competition, he's like, I dive at Ballycastle.
No problem.
That's nothing.
I don't even need to train.
Exactly. So the athletes, they're always nervous when they're getting on the platform as well. Really need to hammer that home. A lot of people think they have got no fear, but that's not true.
So 3 of the scores are 7.5. The high and the low are tossed, just as a reminder, with the 5 judges. The remaining 3 are multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So he gets a 96 on that dive, and then you add all 4 rounds together. So Schaefer comes in with 257.35 as a grand total. So all 4 rounds count, all 4 rounds are important. So Archie Biggin, who's coming up next, only 16 years old. He's been getting ready for this for a long time, Joey. Look at that.
That he has, diving in Pontebrella in Switzerland. And I was at this competition. Actually, that's me filming the dive.
Oh, yeah?
This is the junior competition that we held in Montreal. That was 2 years ago. And here he is, diving off the platform in Polignano a Mare, Italy. Just 16 years of age. How about that? Showing off to his friends in school. What a privilege. What an honor.
So making his Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series debut at 16 is the youngest cliff diver in history ever to compete on the World Series. Now, Aiden Heslop was 16 years old when he made his debut, but still, Archie has him by a couple months on that.
He's going to be the cool kid at school for a while, let me tell you. Back 3 somersaults, forward 3 somersaults, 1.5 twist, sorry.
So we talked about Schaefer being 6 feet 4 inches tall. Well, Archie is 5 feet 5 inches tall on the opposite end of the spectrum, 1.65 meters tall.
55 kilos, slider frame.
So Biggin, the 16-year-old who missed the bus and was late for the competition yesterday. The Brit putting one down. Ballycastle Harbour.
That was so
Too bad it's going to be known for that for a long time.
It will. We'll always talk about this for the rest of his life or his rest of his cliff diving career. You remember that time when you missed the bus? And it was a big deal too, because quite a long bus trip to the off the cliff round. And then luckily his dad found him, nearly throttled him, put him in the car and drove him to the cliff and pushed him off.
Did you realize you got an invite to the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series with 11 other people and you just couldn't get up on time?
Dude, teenagers, they like to sleep in. We all know that. Come on. But anyway, Archie, makes for a great story. We love you. It's awesome. An awesome diving. A little shorter vertical for Archie Biggin. But of course, just 16 years of age and with more time, he'll start to dive well, but he's got great technique.
I mean, he was just a spectator at most of these events over the years, and now he's a competitor. 241.05, so moves into 8th.
He's just talking, he's just making that signal on his neck. He's like, yeah, I really felt that. If you're a little bit off that line, I think you just whacked the cameraman there. Oh, sorry. Sorry. English love to say sorry. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, good job by the 16-year-old, Archie Biggin. It's like he went from watching Formula One a couple weeks ago to driving with Verstappen. Be a good comparison, like from 2 weeks ago to today. All right, the wind, Joey, definitely picking up.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see how it affects these divers, including Miguel Garcia, 33-year-old, currently tied in 8th place with Nikita Fedotov in the World Series point standings. Here in 7th place finishes the first 2 stops. We asked him what the most terrifying aspect of cliff diving is. He said it's the nature. Very unpredictable. The wind, the waves, the cold, extremely hot, extremely, all the changes.
Well, we'll admit the Latin American divers are not too fond of the cold conditions. But here we go. We're set. Back 3 somersaults. 4 twists in the free position. The triple quad. First person to do that dive was, of course, the infamous Gary Hunt.
The wind, not too bad, and what a beautiful entry into the harbor is Miguel Garcia. And when you're running 3 of 12 in terms of points, that means you had low points coming into this 4th round. So putting one down is important to get into that top 5 position potentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did have a few slip-ups in the earlier rounds, and he made up for it with that dive. But twisting it up, wrapping it up. I love these twisting dives. There's so much action. Really impresses the crowds. I mean, it's just remarkable how many twists and somersaults they can fit in a 2.8 second free fall from 27 meters high. That's the equivalent of the 9-story high-rise. Soon we'll see the Olympics coming up in France, and they're diving from 10 meters. That's almost 3 times the height of the Olympic high board. Can you believe it?
So Miguel Garcia, 119.60. That's in yellow. That's that 4th round dive. You add that with the other 3, 304.05. So Garcia will now set the pace for the gents with a 304.05. That is the top score. He's 3 to go of 12. So we look at a beautiful shot. Nikita Fedotov coming up, looking down from 27 meters, 90 feet is the men's platform.
And some of these locations, I mean, for example, when I dove in Polignano Amade, it was so daunting and scary. So some locations seem higher than others. But we're going to take a look at Nikita Fedotov, round 2. And this is one of my favorite dives. Look at the flying front. Graceful, crushing the entry, pushing a long way from the cliff there. That angled cliff, entering that pike position, so graceful, so stylish. I love these simple dives, right? It really gives you that sense of flight time, that scale of height, raw beauty, raw cliffs, and a rugged coastline. And that is how you impress the crowds.
Very Orlando Duque-esque on that dive there. Ballycastle in Northern Ireland. Brand new location. First time ever the World Series has hit Northern Ireland. 3 different takeoff spots. Stop number 102 in the 15-year history of the World Series. And Nikita Fedotov has been in 27 starts over the years, 5 career podiums, all 3rd place finishes, including one this season.
Not in Polignano, definitely taking a very, very hard hit. So he's actually changed one of his dives. You can see the bandage around his leg. Quite often the athletes suffer from torn groin muscles or adductor muscles. He's got his mouth guard at the back of his bathing suit as well, so he's got to pop that in. Some of the athletes struggle with the entry, and sometimes they bite down on their tongue or their cheek. Giving the thumbs up to the judges.
Throwing the chamois down there.
Yep. He's just about to pop it in his mouth guard to get ready for the dive. Because it can be like a boxing match when you hit the water, especially if you're not vertical.
Which is what he did in Polignano Amare.
Yeah, he had a tough...
From that 3rd place finish to 11th. 3rd in Boston, 11th in Italy. Great diver. Fedotov with a pretty explosive splash on that, Joey. You can break that down for us. First of all, what would the judges think of that in terms of entry? The other question is, does that hurt when you over-rotate or under-rotate?
The slightest angle off vertical can really hurt. So sometimes, I mean, you saw Archie Biggin sort of pointing to the neck, and if your neck, your chin's out, it can really hurt. So a little bit of an over-rotation here. Coming around, an incredibly difficult dive though, mind you. Reverse 3 somersaults, 3 twists. If you do this backwards backwards, it's a lot easier. But if you're facing forwards and you've got to move forwards but then rotate backwards towards the platform, that makes the dive incredibly hard to finish the rotation. You can see he's running out a bit of room. Very hunched, yeah. Running out of room, hunched on entry. Unfortunately, he will see some deductions, but he's just getting back in the rhythm after that really hard landing in Polignano Amare on that back arm stand 4.5. That was the world's hardest dive, so we know he's capable of great things. Yeah. Just got to get back into the rhythm again.
Low scores by the 5 judges. Again, the high and the low are tossed out. So on that dive in yellow, you see 68.60, 291.80. So not the day Fedotov was looking for.
Not quite.
As he is 4 to go of 12. Aiden Heslop will dive last. He's the top seed, leading by a lot of points. That focus, just getting his mind off of the competition there, Joey.
Yeah, and this is something Gary Hunt used to do as well. So juggling actually helps you, sort of warm up, and it's a bit of a brain exercise as well, just to warm up the brain to get all the coordination going before you do your dives. Good distraction as well.
Now we'll see if Joloto Martinez, wildcard diver, was juggling for this. Only 21 years old. Made his Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series debut with the 2nd stop in Boston. He landed 4th place there. Super solid. 7th place finish at the last stop in Italy. This guy's the real deal.
Also 4th place in Doha World Champs. Great shot of the feet there. Feet half on, half off.
Is there grip tape there?
There is. You need it.
Martinez coming in hot for his 4th and final round dive.
Now, Jolotl also dove internationally for Mexico in synchronized 3-meter springboard diving in Budapest. So he's got an excellent technical foundation. What does that mean? That means in the future, he's going to be able to do some very difficult dives. He tried out a new dive here in Ballycastle as well. So I dare say in the not too distant future, you'll start to see a different dive than this, increasing the degree of difficulty. But what Jolotl needs to work on is just making sure he can get really good clean entries. He's got amazing power, good twisting technique. He's a great diver. And with a little more time, a little bit more practice, hopefully he can hone in on those entries. And when I say entries, you want that rip. You want to tear through the water, no splash, and impress the judges.
Jolto Martinez will get a bunch of 6s, keep those in 77.7, so 309.60, still good enough for the lead here as he's 5th to go of 12 on the men's side. Gaining some valuable experience here on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Back-to-back divers from Mexico. And Jonathan Paredes is one that has mentored Martinez back in Polignano Amare. A long time since Jonathan Paredes has seen the podium. In fact, since 2019. And he's had a rough several years, including the final stop last season in New Zealand. He's injured there. And then kaboom, he comes back hot here after years. And then he took a little break after Boston, Joey. Got some psychological help and really lit it up in Polignano Amare, Italy, with a 3rd place finish.
You can see that raw emotion from Jonathan Paredes. Relieved to dive so well and very proud of himself. And again, great shots of Tower and Archie Biggin, the youngster. It's time for him to kick back and watch the remainder of the field.
And it's been since 2019 that they had back-to-back podiums. But he's going to need to dig deep here. Now, Johnny was leading after the 3rd, coming in the 3rd round, and he's doing a great job. And then just things didn't go well in that last round enough to get him back in the #1 spot. So now he has to do something special here. In fact, he only needs 5.5 from the judges to be on top of the podium, but you have a lot of good divers coming up.
Yeah, it's still 6 more divers to go after Jonathan Paredes. He's just using got the chamois there, so the chamois is to dry off the legs to make sure you don't slip out of the dive. All of us divers at one point in our career have been in the ball shape in the tuck position, for example, holding on to your shins with your hands. And if you've got like a little bit of sunscreen or your shins are wet, you can slip out of the dive and wipe out. You don't want to wipe out from 27 meters, 90 feet up. It doesn't end well, let me tell you.
Oh, the athletes look exhausted.
Yeah, it's been a daunting and demanding competition. Going forward, 4 somersaults, 1.5 twists, running takeoff. You can hear the wind howling through the tower.
It's picking up. So Jonathan Paredes, perhaps not the entry he was looking for here in the 4th round. So the 2017 King Kahekili Trophy winner, a little shaken after that one, it looks like, getting some assistance from the safety crew.
Yeah, when I saw that from the angle, like he landed very short of vertical, what that does to you quite often is it takes the wind out of you, so you can't breathe. Most of us have experienced a winding at some point, maybe you've been punched by your brother and you just can't breathe, right? So look at this, you can see him bending the legs, he's in trouble, whack! Right on the chest, right on the chin. He's gonna feel that tomorrow. He just needs a bit of time to get his breath back. And that's one of the most common things the safety divers need to be aware of, is a winding. So perhaps he just really didn't go after the dive, just looked like he cruised it a bit too much. A little complacent in the air, and you can see him bending the legs. He knew he's in trouble. Punch, whack right there, knocking the wind out of him. And again, highlighting the risks of this sport. Got to be on point every single time. You can see the redness on his chest as well from the landing.
Getting a lift back by Conor McGuire, Red Bull surf athlete from Ireland. Jolita Martinez, the 21-year-old, still holds on to the lead with 309.60. Goes over to see Johnny, make sure he's okay. And Johnny has done so much for the young Martinez over the years, inspired him to be here. It's not the score he's looking for, a little shaken up.
Take a little soak in the hot tub, shake it off. That was tough.
Carlos Gimeno, love watching this guy, 34 years old, of Spain, remains number 4 in the World Series point standings. And that epic moment in Ireland. World's first arm stand dive off of a cliff. Check this out.
He got the spirit level out, or the water level, made sure it was level enough. But that was wild.
And then he went on that same competition. Steve LeBou loved it. He went on that same competition to earn all 10s in one of the other dives. But beautiful here on that round. The arm stand dive here, Joey.
Yep, breaking records. That's what we like to see. First arm stand dive off a cliff. Back to the platform here in Ballycastle. Look at the dive here, 5.2 degree of difficulty. How many somersaults? You can see the graphics back, and then underneath that says 5. That means 5 somersaults in total. It's going to make you dizzy watching it. See if you can count the somersaults as they whiz by. Let's go, Carlos.
Yeah, as a kid, he spent a lot of time on the beach, surfing, fishing, cliff jumping. It's one of the reasons why he became so connected with the ocean, the fresh water and the cliffs. Guy entered the 2023 season as a wild card, ended up ranked number 3 in the year end, earned a permanent diver spot for the 2024 season. You can see the wind shifting around a little bit here, 13, 12, back to 15 miles per hour-ish, coming from the southeast. Joey, even if the wind isn't affecting you in the air or anything, it's just still blowing in your ears. And I knew as an aerial skier at one time, that always bothered me.
Yeah, it can. I mean, mostly for the divers, I mean, the wind really just can get you off balance, particularly when you're going backwards. And as we said earlier in the show, the wind in the warm-up rounds was brutal. It's just fluctuating a little bit. The heart rate was way up there, 155 beats per minute. Resting heart rate for the average human being, 60 beats per minute.
And heart rate's being monitored. You can see the bandage and the heart rate monitor wrapped around his left bicep. That's how we're getting real-time heart rate here. Here we go. Wow, what about that? Putting one down into the Ballycastle Harbour. Jimeno means business. Tough conditions, Joey. You hear the wind blowing on top, and boy, he managed that nicely. Excellent effort.
Carlos Jimeno showing us his acrobatic mastery on that dive. Under tough conditions, jumping up. 1 somersault, 2 somersaults, 3 somersaults, 4. And there's the relieving moment as he comes around. Squeaky clean entry, just a little bit off vertical, a little bit short of vertical. I'll explain that shortly. Look at the determination in the face, counting the somersaults, counting the water twice, counting the water 3 times. Yeah, counting the water for the 4th time to orientate himself.
Nice.
And you just see just a little bit short of vertical, and you'll still feel that. You'll still feel that in the chin. But the good thing is he got it through the water pretty clean, but they did get that angle, as you can see from the judges' results there.
5 judges: Olivier Monod-Ricard, Jeff Arbin, Ginger Huber, Valerio Palazzo, Yulian Linus, and they give him 7s across the board with a 109. So Jimeno now in the top spot after all 4 rounds are added together. 3:52.55. Getting down to the top 5 divers as Jimeno leads and sets the bar at 3:52. Guzman coming up next. Prigorov of Ukraine. Liechtenstein, the World Series leader, followed by Popovich, and then Aiden Heslop. The Brit will cap it off as the top seed coming into this 4th round. And a beautiful shot now, and the weather cooperating from the start of the women's competition until now in this great seaside town of Ballycastle, Northern Ireland. The first time the World Series has come to this area. It's Sergio Guzman, the 33-year-old from Mexico, gets ready.
If you look at the tower, you can actually see there's a number of platforms. We see another shot. There's some lower platforms. One of them's a 10-meter platform. And that gives you some kind of sense of scale in comparison to the Olympic high board, the 10-meter platform. So you've got 27 meters up there, the women's platform underneath, 21 meters. That's a platform. Underneath the women's platform is 10 meters. That's the Olympic high board. And that is why they're landing feet first as opposed to head first.
Sure.
85 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour, 10 G forces of impact. Deep breath by Sergio Guzman. You can see that wind is starting to bother him a little bit.
Guzman, superb entry.
Consistent
Look at
Guzman,
huh? It's like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good. His first and only victory was in Japan in 2016. 38 career starts, 2 podiums, including that one in Japan. And he hasn't performed at a high level off the raw cliff scenarios, but off these platforms, he's done well.
Now, Sergio Guzman is a very good diver in terms of aerial awareness. He seems to be able to get through the water very clean. Now, if he was able to do more somersaults, or let's say add an extra somersault, he could increase the degree of difficulty. Big head flicks to orientate himself. Look at the head flicking. That way he can get a good glimpse of the water and the platforms as they go by to help orientate himself to adjust for the landing. And he has had a pretty bad landing that we saw in Bosnia, getting lost, but he's A-OK here, showing that his aerial awareness is back on track.
The water depth, 6 meters, 21 feet. the better you enter, the further down you go. So
Yep.
if you hit the bottom, it's probably a good thing, kind of. You just touch, just touch it a little
Yeah,
bit.
sometimes you might touch, actually, if it's 6 meters deep, but just very gently.
Yeah. Doesn't happen, obviously. Good safety in place for this event. 90.30 for Guzman on that dive. So moving to second with 334.15. So Jimeno still leading the charge with that 352.55. Guzman guaranteed a 6th best finish since Italy in 2021. So Guzman will be happy with that. As Jolito Martinez still making noise as a wildcard diver. Only 3 stops under his belt. As we look at Alexei Prigorov on the flip side, who's had 30 starts. The only Olympic medalist to compete in the World Series. Bronze medal in Beijing 2008. 3-meter springboard synchro.
Now, Alexei's ranked 4th currently, but he's not too far behind the front runners. May have a chance to make the podium here.
Yeah,
the Causeway Coast. And we've got a forward 4 somersaults, 2.5 twists in the pike position. Really high degree of difficulty dive. If he manages to get good scores on this, he just needs 6s from the judges to move into the lead, but ideally he should be looking for scores of 8s. That's what he'd like. Or 9s, if that's possible.
I mean, Heslop has 300 points coming into this 4th round, Joey, so anybody leading into Aden is going to have to put something special down here. So Alexei Prigorov, whoa!
Another tough landing, and you can hear the whistle being blown, and that is a signal to the safety divers to retrieve the athlete. He's just having some trouble breathing. Again, same situation as Jonathan Paredes. He'll be fine. You can just see him just catching his breath there. Again, just another hit in the solar plexus, right in the chest. We've got Chappers there, the scuba diver on the left, or the safety diver on the left. Very experienced, and he knows how to react at the right time. You can see that angle whack right on the chest, knocking the wind out of his body. Brutal impact. Once again, that's 85 kilometers per hour. Just trying to figure out why he's running out of rotation. I mean, that could have stemmed from not enough power and takeoff. Perhaps he came out too early in the dive. I'll just have a look at this to see if I can pick up on it. Normally when it's real time, you can get a better feeling for it. Stamping down the platform, he's into the pike here, entering the twist. He's got a re-pike after 2 twists. He's coming in here. Just want to look at where he comes out. Maybe coming out a little bit early in conjunction with not enough power on the takeoff, resulting in not enough rotational speed to complete the dive, and that's why he landed like that. And that's a tough impact. He's going to feel that tomorrow. Probably a little bit of blood in his mouth as well. Yeah, a little bit of a chomp on the tongue and the inner cheek, probably.
So Prigorov, a very heavy landing for the Ukrainian diver. He's okay, though. Tough guy.
I've landed like that. It ain't fun. It's tough. Yeah, bit his tongue. That's sort of why Nikita Fedotov wears the mouth guard. But hey, this is a sport only for the brave. This ain't ping pong, folks. No disrespect to the ping pong players out there, but hey, keeping it real.
I was playing ping pong last week.
I heard you got your butt kicked.
I did actually. I got hit by the ball a few times. Didn't feel well. So Jimeno leading the way with 352. Prigorov 6th. Not the day for Prigorov, but he's okay. That's the good news. So Jimeno, Guzman, and Martinez hold down the top 3 with 3 divers remaining. So we'll see if Jimeno can hold on to a podium position. As we look at this brand new location, Ballycastle, on the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. Thousands of fans on hand, expecting about upwards near 20,000 fans today. So
Well, what a treat for
Thanks
the
for all
locals,
them to
right?
come out, yeah.
It's not every day you see the sport of cliff diving in your hometown.
That's the first
what
time.
What a treat.
Yeah, the first time, Joey, ever in Northern Ireland.
Well, here's the flipster.
So James Lichtenstein is coming up next for the gents. Round 1. How about this? Boom.
Triple half for James Lichtenstein. Oh, great shot underneath the water there as they hurtle down. And diving from the cliffs, they had to be mindful of the tide. So you've got to dive at high tide to make sure you have enough water depth. So there's a lot of planning that goes into this competition with multiple takeoffs.
So James is the current 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series leader after 3 stops. He hit the podium at the first stop of the season in Greece, placing 3rd. Following that, James upgraded to 2nd place finishes in both Boston and Italy. And this is only his 14th ever start on the World Series. His podium strike ratio is 38%. As we look at Carlos Jimeno, his closing his eyes, praying for a podium spot. But these guys all like to see each other dive well, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like they're trying to get on the podium by somebody else failing to dive well. They all want to see some spectacular performances out of their peers.
And most of the time, you're just dealing with your own demons, and every single athlete understands what it's like to stand on that platform. It's nerve-wracking. That heart rate at 150 beats per minute tells you what's going through the mind of these athletes right now. As you said, each athlete likes to see the other athlete safe and sound. But now, it's time for James. Back 5 somersaults. If he scores 6s, he can take the lead. Looking for another podium.
Looking for 4 straight podiums in this season. Heart rate's going up. So James Lichtenstein putting one down. Carlos Jimeno will kind of figure that out in his head. We'll see what the judges think. Joey couldn't see the landing quite the way we wanted from that angle, but you tell me what you think. Well, is going to pull in there?
I think James Lichtenstein is an acrobatic genius. Fantastic aerial awareness. The back quint. What is a quint? 5 somersaults. Just looked like he was hunching and rolling through the water. Pretty good. So you can just see that body just hunched and just rolling and pulling through. He did a pretty good job. Here's the angle, or a similar angle, that the judges will be looking at the dive from. That way they can see the takeoff, the distance from the platform, position in the air. And the final part of the dive to look at is, of course, the entry. You can just see, just slightly hunched. But when you're traveling at those speeds, those last 2 meters come up very quickly. I couldn't believe that transition from 25 meters to 27 meters. I found that so hard. You can really feel the wind starting to pick up, but let's keep it in the competition realm. What do the judges think?
So 117, Joey, on that dive. Remember, all 4 rounds count. So in white down below, those are the first 3 rounds. 381, 3.5. So James Lichtenstein moves in to first and lands on the podium again.
Wow.
He is 4 for 4 in terms of podium positions. He still hasn't won a World Series competition yet. Will today be the day?
But that's the thing, right? That holds on to those series points. I mean, he's leading right now. That's exactly what you want to do, is get on the podium. So he's got to be relieved with that. He's in a good position. All he's got to do is just sit back and wait and watch how this unfolds with Konstantin Popovic and Aiden Heslop coming up the ranks.
There's one way to win the King Kyle Trophy, and that's to get on the podium every single stop, right? You can win 1 or 2, right? And then you could just botch it and have a 9th and a 10th, and that's not going to get you the trophy.
I mean, some of the other divers, right, they might win competitions, but they might drop out. They might get off the podium and get 5th, drop back in the points. But if you're holding steady and getting on the podium every single time, that's a good thing.
And this is the 4th stop of 8. So we're turning the corner here after today, folks.
Right.
To the second half of the season. James in a great position to win the King Kyle Trophy. But one man stands in his way. You're looking at him. Konstantin Popovic, the Romanian Shark and the 2023 World Series champion. Joins a very small club of trophy winners. In fact, only 4 other men have won in the 15-year history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. So
Really big dive here for Konstantin Popovic. There's a lot on the line. Back 4 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position. Needs 7s from the judges. Definitely struggle with this dive in the warm-up. Saw him getting a little squirrely at the end. It's incredibly windy. There he is doing his block-throughs, his visualizations. Beautiful trophies there, awaiting the lucky podium finishes.
James will get one of them. Just what color, yet to be determined. Popovic, followed by Heslop. Down to the top 2.
Okay, he needs 7s from the judges to move into the lead. Final block-throughs, pressure's on. James Lichtenstein looking on.
James is so chill.
Well, inside, he's very curious about the outcome of this dive and Aiden's dive.
Costa carving through the water.
I like that. Costa carving.
Costa carving in Ballycastle.
I mean, I'm sure that was a nerve-wracking moment for James Lichtenstein and for Konstantin Popovic. Konstantin knew that he really needed a good takeoff. Without a good takeoff, you just can't make those rotations. The arm swinging through, jumping, 2.5 twists, digging deep, holding on to the last second in that pike position. Little bit short of vertical. We can see the knee bandage there. That was from a hyperextended knee at the tour stop in Boston, and he had to withdraw in the competition after that. Did some serious rehab and then managed to come back, and he won the competition at the previous tour stop in Italy. Just a little hunched on entry, but managed to sneak through the water nice and clean. Question is how they'll judge that entry. It's still about that vertical line. He looks happy, though.
I need some big points, though, with Aiden Heslop leading by a long shot coming into this 4th and final round, but this will put Costa into the top position and guaranteed a podium. So he's psyched about that. Winner of 2 stops this season, as you mentioned, Joey, sits number 2 in the points. James Lichtenstein, number 1 in the World Series points. But this will help Costa's campaign for another King Kahekili trophy here in 2024. So there are the official scores, 131.10. Solid scores, 395, 5.5.
Exactly.
So Popovic, top of the leaderboard with 1 diver remaining. The question is, did he leave a little bit of meat on the bone on that one? Because Aiden Heslop doesn't need a huge score to seal it up here.
But still, it's a very hard dive. 5.9 degree of difficulty.
10 years ago.
Look at that little pipsqueak.
10 years ago today. Winning off 15 meters at that age. Where was that, Joey?
I was in Pontebrella in Switzerland. But Fito Gutierrez, his coach, encouraged him to do a lot of feet-first landings in competitions at the diving pool in Plymouth. Got him into the swing of things.
He's a lot taller.
He's a lot taller now. He's a 6-footer. He's about 183 centimeters. It's pretty tall, but he moves fast.
All right, what does he need to clinch the win?
5.5
here in Ballycastle.
5.5, that's in his grasp. His average score on this particular dive is 7s. Now his knee's been plaguing him a little, so he didn't practice the dive. Seemed to be getting a little sore from those rappelling sessions in the off-the-cliff rounds.
His heart rate, 153, bouncing back and forth. That real-time monitor. His left arm, bicep.
He's strapped up. It It is hurting him. Running takeoff. Howling wind. And a terrifyingly difficult dive. Marking up the run-up. Needs to do that to make sure he gets the right distance to the end of the platform. Flipping and twisting and crushing the entry. High five to the safety divers. He knows it. The divers know it.
Gosh, it's just like, whew.
Damn,
that was a good one. Unbelievable. High degree of difficulty on that. Evaporating into the water here in Ballycastle. And that ought to capture him, the top spot of that podium that you see right there on the left-hand side.
High degree of difficulty and high stakes diving by Aiden Heslop. And coming up with the goods when the pressure's on. Massive dive. Forward, 4 somersaults, 3.5 twist pike. Ripping his way through the water. Down to 4 meters. There's this beautiful slow motion action. Running to the end. Arms above the head. Maximum power. Triple twist. You can see the legs or the feet overlapping to make sure the legs don't pull apart. A little bit of a bent leg, or bent legs I should say, in that position. It's pretty hard to keep them straight when you're rotating that fast with that centrifugal force.
Oh, centrifugal force.
Oh, we've brought that term back again.
There it is.
Aiden Heslop, tongue out. But what a dive. And what a competition.
So Aiden Heslop awaits his scores. I have a feeling these guys have been doing this a long time. They know what that dive means. That means victory for Aiden Heslop. And the judges agree. So a bunch of 8s. He'll drop an 8.5 and 1/8. He'll keep 3 of them, and multiplied by that high degree of difficulty. Heslop with the 141.60 easily captures the victory. Aiden Heslop conquers the Causeway Coast, the winner here in Ballycastle and Northern Ireland.
And he badly needed that to climb up the series ranks at the midway point of the season. He's had the King Kaikili trophy in his sights quite a number of times. Come very close. And here's the recap of all 4 dives. Round 1 from Dunluce. Great diving directly from the rock face without the aid of the platform. Raw and rugged and wild. And he said makes him fall in love with cliff diving again, diving directly from the cliff face. And I love these experiences. It's just so beautiful, such picturesque coastline. And shifting over to another off-the-cliff location.
Beautiful limestone.
Yeah, about a 20-minute drive away from the Ballycastle location. The athletes using some ropes to get into position. This is Kinbane diving very early in the morning, around about 7 a.m. to get these dives off. It's not easy diving that early. That was round 2, so 2 off-the-cliff rounds. Then we transfer over to Ballycastle, diving from the platform where you can increase the degree of difficulty. Got the back quad, triple twist, pulling up the chest and pulling off an incredible entry. All power. Such a dynamic, such a fun diver to watch. And as we saw earlier in the show, he's been actually cliff diving for quite a long time. How old's Aiden now?
Aiden Heslop is 22 years old.
22 years old.
Yeah.
He's got a big future ahead of him still. And here we go. Final dive to seal the deal for Aiden Heslop. Congratulations for taking the win here today.
Beautiful diving by Aiden Heslop, the 2nd win for him this season. Let's head to the hot tub with Aiden Heslop, who's with Frosty.
Here we go. All right, Aiden, we saw some amazing dives from you off the cliffs, and then, of course, round 3 absolutely smashed it. How did it feel being so close to home here? Do you think it gave you a little home field advantage?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been the nicest weather the last couple of days, so I think I had a little advantage there being a Brit, used to this summertime weather. But no, I'm super happy. I mean, I've got a few wins under my belt, but this is my first home win, so hopefully I can bag a couple more as well.
What did it mean to you to have your family here watching as you take the prize?
It's nice. I mean, they've been to a few events, but not to a win yet. They're a little bit far away, but I could hear them cheering still.
A really incredible performance. How do you think you got yourself in the right headspace to really bring it all together in the end?
We actually switched up the last two dives. We've been doing them the opposite way around recently, and I'm just a bit more confident with this running front twist as the last dive. So it was nice to put it at the end. I'm confident with that dive going into it as the last diver as well. I was in a good headspace all day, and I'm just excited that I managed to get it done.
It was an absolutely amazing performance. Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Frosty. 13 World Series podiums. Now 6 of them wins for the 22-year-old Brit. We'll see if that helps him in the standings. Boy, it is getting interesting. Heating up here in the World Series as we turn the corner for the second half of the season after today. So Aiden Heslop, 441, huge margin right there above Popovich, 395. And then James Lichtenstein, Mr. Consistent, 4th straight podium this season. So 7 through 12. For the men's final results here from the beautiful Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland. And stop number 4 of the season. There's the podium. Aiden Heslop in the middle. Winner today. James Lichtenstein grabbing 3rd again. So 2 thirds, 2 seconds for the American. And Konstantin Popovich with 2 wins and a 2nd. That is a heated up race for the overall World Series. And that extra point, important as you mentioned, Joey, that can help any of the divers. Just 1 extra point of the 20 you get for a win. But Jonathan Paredes earning this.
And he earned that by getting a 9.5 from the judges on this particular dive. And he's so graceful, so stylish as he flies his way down into the chilly waters and done loose. Beautiful images, getting an extra point in the World Series because of that dive.
Look at that. There he is, James Lichtenstein still leading the way with 59 points, but Popovich getting close along with Aiden Heslop.
Look at that, 59, 58, 57 between James Lichtenstein, Konstantin Popovich, Aiden Heslop. The fight is on.
You gotta love this series. The 4th stop of 8, and as we turn the corner, anything goes. It is up in the air on the men's side for the King Kahkealy Trophy in 2024. And next stop from the Raw Cliffs here in Northern Ireland, the World Series is heading next to the urban setting of Oslo, Norway for stop number 5. Perhaps the most unique platform awaits the athletes as the second half of the season gets underway. Stretching 30 meters out from the Oslo Opera House roof, the platform is both fascinating and record-breaking. At no other location in history of the World Series has the walk to the edge been longer than the drop down. Huge crowd expected, and you can check it all live beginning August 8th with the final round on the 10th. For more information, keep up with redbullcliffdiving.com. Until then, we say goodbye from Ballycastle and the Northern Ireland coast. Congratulations, Rhiannon Ifland and Aiden Heslop for pulling off big victories. For Joey Zuper, Michael Frosty Snow, and the entire production team, I'm Trace Worthington. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next stop in Oslo, Norway.